Uh, the very fact that we are on Zoom and completely digital is a tribute to the power of this medium and to technology itself. We are mankind, will find solutions to whatever problems thrown at us. So reiterating a warm welcome to our esteemed panelists. The structure of this discussion, I'll quickly sort of try to set something, though it's pretty informal and free flowing, is that I'll set the context for the topic in 3 to 4 minutes right now. And then I shall invite each panelist to share their individual thoughts in their areas. We have given the panelists complete a free hand to either use slides or just talk through their sort of core points. I shall play, of course, the spoil sport by reminding after 7 to 8 minutes that you need to pass it on to the next panelist. And after all the three panelists have completed their session, I shall pick up questions that we have received already or some that I shall develop based on the content of what the panelists speak about. So let's start off. I'll have to warn you that I haven't played the moderator many times. And when you start getting more invites to be moderator rather than a panelist, you either have a feeling of having achieved nirvana or you start asking questions that, hey, I should be working harder at my core areas and perhaps sort of innovate more. But jokes aside, with the type and quality of panelists we have today, we are in store to unravel and perhaps learn multiple new things about the role of digital, the role of technology in different aspects of the real estate sector. So first of all, real estate sector is more than residential. The 6 asset classes of residential, commercial, retail, land, then the warehousing, industrial, logistics, and hospitality sort of comprise the sector. And hence any discussion of technology and digital should keep in mind application to all of these asset classes or subsectors. Similarly, the value chain of real estate spans from land identification and acquisition, product strategy, product design, construction planning, construction itself, project management, marketing, sales, post-sales, customer relationship management, and of course, some technologies which span across these value chain, like we will see today when we hear Sarit speak about that. So when we, again, when we think of technology or digital transformation, we need to think of each of these 10 steps in the value chain. And we need to push ourselves to transform that technology or digital for each of these steps. So we need to push ourselves on increasing productivity and efficiency. But like Uber, Airbnb did, or Facebook and Amazon did, we need to almost reimagine the processes, the product, and perhaps the entire subsector itself, either on these steps, or take a step back and look at the entire value chain itself. The journey of technology and digital in real estate is long. According to me, in India, we are in the 10 to 20% completion stage yet. So the picture baki, as I keep on telling in most of my panel. With that, without much ado, I'll sort of start pulling in my panelists, perhaps in the same order as which Paromita introduced them in the slides, if it's fine with you. So going with Rajit, followed by Sarit, followed by Vikram. Gentlemen, about 7 to 8 minutes talking about your core area and informally, and letting us know what sort of forms the crux and the big idea behind your thoughts. Rajit, over to you, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mishra. I think we are in some interesting times, and as what has happened over the course of the pandemic is that a revolution that was due in the next 10 years has happened in the 6 months. I think that's the first thing that we as people in the sector who are working with companies are seeing, that what we thought is going to be an adaptation in the next 3 years is happening more rapidly in like a month or two. So I think I'll just give a bit of background about what I do and what my company does to set in the context of where I come from. So we are a location intelligence company. The idea is that, this entire process of extensive market research has been shortened to a click, where we work across multiple sources of data to bring to consumers, to bring to our customers, data intelligence at a click. So given any location, at 100 cross 100 meter granularity, we can talk about customer demographics, spending capacity, affluence, and a host of other points which help our business, be it retail, be it real estate, be it any other sector, understand that what's the profitability or what should be the strategy in planning business operations in that region. So what we saw is This process is something which was a physical process. So when the pandemic started with March, I think the first thing that happened, people could not go out of their houses to look after their stores. People could not go out to decide whether to invest in a place or not. So this entire process, which is market research, is again a component of real estate. You mentioned residential, you mentioned commercial. A lot of these aspects saw huge changes, and one of the things is because real estate as a sector it still is a lot dependent on manual processes. People go visit sites, understand an idea, report back, and it's a process. I think what happened is the limitation to go out, the same way we all adopted to Zoom calls the moment meetings could not happen. I think the same way companies adopted, searched for technology. And what better for a product company like, who are coming up than a market who needs you? And I think the same way Zoom never had to market, Zoom was always there for last 10 years, but it's this crucial time which everyone took to it. And I think that is what is happening. Technology today, if I talk about real estate, data, technology, they were always there. They were coming in the last 3 years. If I talk about AR, VR, the entire experience without visiting, I think that's something that has been more something we can relate to. Because today we are in a conference talking virtually. So why not visit a place and understand about it virtually? Why do we need to physically go there? And just by not physically going there, we are saving up a lot of our resources in terms of time and effort. And I think that's the first realization that the sector had. Coming to other aspects, you talked about fulfillment, how to customers, once you, how to in the process of construction, everything got delayed. And if I look at it today, we are in a situation where the urban cities are suddenly, with the entire migrant crisis, the urban cities are suddenly facing a challenge where, on one hand, there's a depleting population from these urban cities, and on the other hand, there is an opportunity in the rural India, in the tier 3, tier 4 places for developments to come up, because people are going back and they want to work out of there, live out of there, and at the same time live the quality life that they were living in those urban cities. And I think here's the opportunity for technology to play hand in hand with real estate. So technology has always been an enabler. And this is the time that technology and data can be leveraged really to plan investments, to understand where to set up different kind of buildings, different kind of structures, different kind of commercial establishments. And the entire process of market research which was needed to possibly go out and do this can now, with the help of technology, be done in a very short span of time. And that is the leverage that we have today. Earlier on today, if you had to plan a new state, plan extensive areas of a state, what kind of the constructions to come up was needed, what kind of establishments needed to be worked upon, you needed people on ground for a long time period. You needed people to go out there, do a research and stuff. Today, it's possible with technology to sit at home with AR and VR and data. You can sit at home and experience the entire country from your device. And I think that is the fantastic opportunity that technology has presented and real estate should adopt. And at the same time, technology has to also, I think, go to the point where the complete experience is, replicated. I still believe there are limitations in terms of technology, in terms of fulfilling a complete physical experience. And that I realize when I talk to most of my customers, I talk to the people, and I think there is the opportunity for technology people like us to understand that what is that missing gap and how can we replicate it. For example, I'll again pick up a small example from the conference and try to understand it. A huge part of the conference is an audience. Today's Zoom call, looking at your audience, seeing your audience when you're talking. Today, a Zoom call has restricted that. I think the next adaptation of a technology in the field of conference is how to make a seamless conversation in terms of conference. And that's again an AR/VR. So there's a limitation. And at the same time, this is the same thing that is happening in real estate. You can understand where to go about, but there's a difference. There's this tip of the iceberg that's still left, which we think, I feel that technology people need to work hand in hand to overcome and build that experience. Where I feel today, where we are moving forward, is a space where people are going to reimagine work. People are going to reimagine staying at home. If there is no office, then if the office, if co-working and co-living spaces came, which had a huge surge today, if people do not have need to go to offices, then what's the concept of home? So I think we need to really look at the way we have defined different elements, and that there's the opportunity. The only way to define them is to understand consumer behavior. And what better way to understand consumer behavior than using technology and data? So I feel excited, and I'm really looking forward to different aspects of the esteemed panelists here. But where I would like to end is in terms of saying that today my space and real estate share something common, that is location. And if real estate has, as a sector, in terms of commercial, in terms of residential, in terms of different, the six components that you mentioned, has to really grow up and has to really pave the way for the new experience, the new work life, the new office life, the new home life. I feel understanding demographics, understanding behavior, strategizing is very important, keeping in mind. And there I feel technology and data has a huge role to play. And last but not the least, I feel replicating a physical experience is going to be very important. And there I feel data, again, technology has a huge role to play. Thank you.
Points, Rajit, and superb start, because you have uncovered 2-3 big areas which we could discuss for an hour each at some point of time over beer. One is, of course, the complete process to be digitalized. The second is a new idea about the reverse migration which has happened, and a reverse urbanization which has happened, and how to sort of build that up in some way in technology and use it for the real estate. Third is the reimagining work, working from home, staying at home, that whole aspect. So these 3 areas, and I'm sure your company will work at the cutting edge on doing research, understanding behaviors, using location, what you have worked in the last 3 to 5 years to in each of these areas. So super, Rajit, great points. Let's see if we can pick that up towards some of these and expand across us towards the end of this panel.
Sure.
Okay. And let me sort of invite Sarit to sort of talk about his area. Sarit, please.
Thank you, Sunil, and thank you, Rajit, for that wonderful introduction. I think, as you rightly said, data is the new oil, and we're all trying to figure out how to leverage that at best. So what I thought I'll do today is just probably share a few slides on what Will Supply has been doing in the sector over the last 5 to 6 years, and how we've been trying to put in our best efforts from a digitization standpoint. And then also talk about how some of these technology trends that we see in some of the other industries can probably help us leverage technology and make a larger impact in the real estate sector as well. So I'll just share my screen, and then we can probably get started. So are the slides visible to everybody? Great, fabulous. So let's first figure out the fact that, let's first acknowledge the fact that as an industry, we are not very tech savvy. We talk a lot about technology, but we get cold feet every time we think about adopting technology. So outside of just the current scenario of the fact that we're not a tech savvy industry, the fact still remains that it's a very the need of the hour from the perspective of adopting technology is more than ever. The land prices are stagnant, the project costs are constantly increasing, which means in order to drive profits in a development project, controlling of and monitoring of those costs have become all the more critical as they directly impact your bottom line. So from that perspective, I think what Will Supply has always been focusing on is to get all the right stakeholders on the same platform. Start with smaller steps of collaboration, standardization, and digitization. And that also in a lot of ways has a very large impact in terms of efficiency of a project, and then definitely the bottom line of a project. Let's talk a little about technology itself, right? I mean, technology also has evolved over a period of time. The reason we are having this conversation today is because the power of technology is not the same as it was 10 years ago, and then as it was 20 years ago. Here's just a few data points for us to contemplate upon. That's a room full of a supercomputer in 1961 that basically had the computing power of 33,000 instructions per second. Cut to 2020, an iPhone actually is 18 million times faster. Therefore, the technology itself has given us the power to leverage it a lot better and then use it to our advantage. Let's talk about the smaller things that we see all around us, right? All our emails today are on the cloud. All our WhatsApp messages, for that matter, are on the cloud. Therefore, even something as basic as cloud computing can actually give us a huge leverage from the perspective of collaborating across various stakeholders, right from a procurement manager sitting in the head office to a site store manager to your supplier sitting 1,000 miles away. You have access to project data anytime, anywhere. Allows for a lot of real-time collaboration. So basically, you can, you don't no longer need to pick up the phone and call for a data point. All of that can be made available to you on your fingertips in your mobile phone, and that's a huge decision-making power for the stakeholders involved. Obviously, it reduces information gaps. It also, most importantly, allows for infinite scalability. Imagine a developer with 20 projects in his portfolio and each of them on the cloud and access to each of those project critical information available at a click of a button. That in itself makes us a lot more agile and makes us a lot more equipped to take the right project calls. Now, taking a leaf from Rajat's book, actually data in itself is a huge enabler from the perspective of understanding what is not really visible to the naked eye. Just taking a very small example, what we started off with at Bill Supply was a very small concept of standardization. The data is only as powerful as the quality of it. And what we tend to see in our real estate projects is that we tend to reinvent the wheel a lot. And therefore, standardization actually helps you make a lot more quality information and analytics out of that data that you acquire over a period of time on various different projects. Taking a very small example of execution, right? We have, let's say, a small item of concrete to be executed on a project site. For any particular developer, that item would go under tendering 100 times a year across probably 10, 20 different projects. Now, being able to just analyze how that particular item is being priced, how that particular item is being procured, how that particular item is being executed, not just for that one developer, but for the 20 plus billion square feet across the country that needs to be planned built, actually gives us a very good understanding of what could be the real-time material pricing, what could be the consumption trends, where are the leakages, where are the wastages, and just a very, very small impact on savings on that one item can actually have a very large impact on the bottom line of the project. So what we're trying to establish with Bill Supply is give the project stakeholders the right tools to be able to take the right project decisions and be able to impact your bottom line positively. Now, a large part of a real estate or construction project revolves around procurement. Now, this is not just procurement of materials and goods, it's also procurement of services. What we focused a lot on over the last few years is to build a portal that allows you to have real-time access to pricing, real-time access to material delivery. So you could, in principle, raise an inquiry on the Bill Supply platform with the right quality check, with the right GPS tracking, with understanding of where the material is in transit, how much longer before it gets to site. And just having just-in-time delivery can reduce your need for storage on site dramatically and increase your efficiency on site dramatically. So from an e-commerce perspective, right, these are proven business concepts that technology has enabled in other industries, and there is no reason why it cannot be, powered in the real estate and construction space. Something as basic as demand aggregation. Build Supply today has thousands and thousands of suppliers digitally enabled and empowered on its platform. So you raise an inquiry, you're already automatically connected to thousands of suppliers that you would not have access to. It basically also helps us disintermediate any brokers, any people who basically are not the manufacturer or the right supplier, and gets you connected to the person who would finally deliver the material to your site. A lot of times, just that price visibility can be a very, very powerful tool. A lot of times, a distributor can actually give you the right pricing even better than a manufacturer. So having that end-to-end supply chain management system, right, from raising of an inquiry to receiving of pricing to be able to track your material and the quality of it, is something that we really, really focus on. Now, all of these suppliers that I spoke of on the Bill Supply platform are already pre-qualified. They go through regular checks of quality, of delivery, of fulfillment, and therefore minimizes the risk of project delivery delay, and therefore the overall project delay as such. So all of these elements actually eventually give you a very, very good control over the 70%, 65 to 70% cost factor of your project, which is associated with procurement. Be it physical progress, be it financial progress, be it just being able to track your material in transit. So, I will probably take a few examples of some of the categories that we work in today. Something as simple as RMC, ready mix concrete. So, quality generally tends to be a huge, huge concern when it comes to concrete. And the implications of not having the right strength of concrete can be quite catastrophic. Therefore, we've been able to actually implement solutions right at the batching plant level, wherein we can track the batch report directly from coming out of the batching plant, and also then give you a GPS tracking of each transit mixer from the plant to your site. So you get a lot more control of that particular conversation. Now, as Sunil mentioned, the entire process is goes beyond just execution. There's a large part of due diligence that Rajat spoke about. There's a large part of automation that can be driven using BIM in that due diligence stage as well. A lot of our compliances are already online, so you know the land parcels statutory compliances, what FSI, what setbacks. So a lot of that initial design decision making or project product decision making can actually be driven by AI. Outside of that, when you talk about just the sales experience of it, again, Rajat touched upon that. A lot of that is being automated today and being made available online on cloud. So you could actually get down to the right unit that you plan to buy in the right project, right? Get down to the drawing room of that unit, get down to the washroom of that unit, and figure out what the look and feel of that particular unit would be. And that, in these times of the pandemic, actually has helped a lot of the developers power digitization as well as power sales, despite the market that it is today. So in principle, that entire life cycle of a real estate project, right from the due diligence of a project to data analytics for the investor of the project, to decision makers right at the site level, to decision makers at the promoter level, and then also how do you drive sales from the project progress itself, is something that we've managed to automate using our digital tools, both from an ERP standpoint, which is the Build Supply Cost Manager, and then from a cost impact perspective, I think the Build Supply Commerce Engine already helps more than 50 to 60 top companies in the country, the likes of Tata's, the likes of Shoppers, the likes of DLF, who use these tools from us to be able to power their decision making and to be able to power their real estate projects. So that's a short introduction in terms of how we've been leveraging technology to have a positive impact on the industry. Over to you, Sunil.
Great. Sorry, so pretty mind-boggling, the whole expanse of the initial part of the journey that I spoke about on the strategization, the construction, etc., and your cost manager and commerce engine almost straddling across these steps in the value chain. I think phenomenal work done, Sarit, and loved the initial slide about the 2010 and 2019, and very relevant to many real estate audience sitting here. Those were the good old, bad old days, whatever you call it, and that was a high profit time. Now is a tougher time, and technology, we should use technology more and more in these times to help us out, almost reimagine our businesses. Great, Sarit. So we have got a couple of follow-up questions which we'll pick up after we are through with Vikram and Mace in the next session. Thank you very much again, Sarit. Vikram, you want to go next, please?
Yep. Good morning, everyone. Thanks, Sunil. Thanks, Rajat, Sarit. Uh, so I've got a slide deck that I want to run across. And so just give me a second. So let me know if you can see the slide deck.
Yeah, we can, Vikram, and your time starts now.
Okay. So let me start with a 10,000 square feet view of real estate industry to begin with. So real estate industry in India uh, has been contributing somewhere in the range of 5 to 8% of the GDP in last few years. It's one of the largest employer of workforce in the country. And in next few years, we are looking at doubling the contribution to the GDP. So we are looking upwards of 12% to it. And one of the ways to get there would be digitization. I agree with Rajat in terms of data is the new oil. And what we were seeing earlier was that things were not standardized. Things were quite fragmented in terms of the complete value chain when we look at construction industry and real estate industry as a whole. What we are looking today is we have increased the speed of digitization due to COVID. We are now looking at standardizing the various policies and processes. We are getting into digital innovation happening at sites. And as we go ahead, the markets are going to get consolidated, and the both the developers and the users are going to use technology more to, I would say, reduce the information asymmetry which happens in the market. So what we would see as we go into the new normal and as the months would go by is more standardization, one, smarter products. Uh, we would see a much more integration of the value chain and control of value chain. And why do we do that is to get into a way of working in which we have much more control over the whole process. And why do we do that? We do that because the profits are decreasing as days are going by. So few things that we could look at in terms of how do we speed up work, how do we control the kind of quality of work that we're producing. And so one of the ways is going into a modular construction, going into prefab construction, or also using lighter weight materials so that we could reduce the dead weight that the building has, which would eventually reduce the cost of the project. So let me run you through one of our projects. Uh,
The jump factory here at plot NO8, East Village, Stratford, is a perfect example of how NACE is taking progressive steps forward to capitalise on the next evolution in the construction industry.
The factory is allowing us to construct one story every 55 hours, a step change in productivity and efficiency. Within a 1-week cycle, we are able to install precast perimeter columns and twin walls, insert ventilation, drainage, and MEP service modules while lifting and placing modular bathroom and utility pods. Once the floor is complete, the whole factory jumps and the sequence starts again. The factory is also creating efficient working throughout the entire construction process. The cladding is completed just 3 levels down from the working deck, achieving a 55-hour installation cycle per floor. All fit-out materials are consolidated off-site and loaded onto the floor plates via the factory cranes. That means first fix of fit-out starts as soon as the cladding completes, and each trade carries out their specific activity on their designated floor in turn. Just 19 floors below the working deck, we are finishing fit-out and furnishings.
There is a symbiotic relationship on the project And the incredible pace at which we can build absolutely comes down to design the factory, huge off-site prefabrication capability with highly skilled operatives on site. We're able to take many elements from this project and apply them to future MACE projects. The Jump Factory is a great example of the type of innovation MACE embraces, helping to move the industry forward.
So the Jump Factory is what we kind of look forward to any project, is to make a better way of how we develop construction projects in. So one of the ways of achieving what we've seen in Jump Factory and the wider role of how technology plays into it is by the usage of BIM. BIM is something that has been there for many years in the industry. But what we are seeing, at least in the Indian market, is that we have not been able to use BIM across the project life cycle. So we've been using it during just a design development in terms of clash detection. But to get the maximum out of BIM and the technology is to use it across from pre-construction to construction and eventually to the operations and running those projects, so that we've got a consolidated platform where all the data is stored and can be retrieved easily at site through mobile devices. Few of the digital, I would say, tools and software that we've been using in our projects range from Aconex to PlanGrid, VisiLearn. We have used Build Supply, and I would say that in future, what we are looking at is to get the users as well as the builders to have the confidence using VR technology, using digital tools, that the product that is being created somewhere which is far away from where they're sitting is being built as per the quality standards, as per the cost and time, which was agreed to them at the onset. Thank you.
Thanks a lot for the short and crisp sort of summarization of the entire sort of project management consulting and the construction tech pieces. Loved the one floor being constructed every 55 hours example that you showed us, and that's mind-boggling. So almost just 2.5 days, and this is almost unprecedented in India. And when I come to the questions, I would love to talk about the applicability of all these modern practices to India. The building information modeling was another interesting BIM, and the whole industry needs to move from a BEAM, from BEAM to a BIM. Looks like using a building information modeling. So thanks, Vikram, and we'll pick up a few of these points as we sort of again go panelist by panelist. So that's the so friends and audience who's listening to this. These are the 3 crisp sessions. So sort of started with Rajit from Data Sutram to Sarit from Build Supply and Vikram from MACE. So we have about 5-6 areas of discussion to be covered. We have 22 minutes left in the session. It's 11:29, 11:30 hard stop. So we'll try to cover these, possibly 1 or 2 discussion points with each of the panelists. Again, for reasons of symmetry, we'll start off in the same order, going with Rajit. Rajit, could you first help us out with so 2 questions for you. One is some specific information on how your product Khoj sort of helps real estate people more, so that the audience can understand that it's a specific case study. And my second question would be around moving from search and discovery to the virtualization, the point that you mentioned of the entire journey being digital, but some real stumbling blocks on that. Why is it not, and how should the digital process in sales and marketing sort of change itself? And then I'll add to that conversation when you come to it. So 2 areas, if you could just cover in 3-4 minutes.
Right. Thank you. So I think the first angle, Khoj is our product, and as the name suggests, it's a search. The search for ideal location. What we are trying to do is we are trying to build the next Google for businesses. So, for example, in real estate, I'll take you through one specific case study that we were doing just during the pandemic. One of the I'll not take the name, but one of the leading companies in the space of co-living and co-working, they were looking at how, post-pandemic, a lot of these people were moving out of these operations, like especially in urban cities. I was mentioning post the migrant crisis. Migrant crisis talks about both blue collar workers and white collar workers, and there what we saw is that a lot of people living in these co-living places who belong to schools, universities, offices, they were coming back to the residential areas and moving out from the cities they were in, as a result of which there was a surge, or there was a spike in the residential areas, and at the same time a decrease of demand in terms of co-living facilities in those cities. Where we came in is, as an organization which was as the co-living organization that was planning rapid scale infrastructure across, where we came in is in terms of mapping footfall, in terms of mapping how many from mobile device data and different other points of information. We were trying to understand what's the actual number of people who are living and going to the offices and going to the schools in these cities. And so what's the demand situation like? So you have a general demand, which was the situation, and then how did the demand change with time? What was the COVID effect that came in terms of demand? And then we mapped supply. We were doing entire India sitting out of our homes with the data that we have, mapping supply. What are the infrastructures? What's their situation like? Just on basis of, again, something as crucial as a mobile device that is with all of us. And then we understood that what are the gaps, which are the areas where people are still there going to the offices, and which are the areas which have completely come back to home, which are the sectors which are still sticking to work from offices, which are the sectors that have to go home. And then with these informations, you can actually map the demand and map the supply, and then identify the demand supply gap, which helps us come to the conclude with the idea of what is the potential of business there. Coming to another use case, I think this is in terms of site selection. You talked about commercial real estate. A big aspect of commercial real estate today is that we are seeing an increase again in the neighborhood footfalls. People are again going to mom and pop stores instead of traveling long distances to different stores because of obviously travel limitations and stuff. There's a surge in terms of groceries and pharmacies that we're seeing in terms of footfall data that is also there with e-commerce. And I think this is points of information we are capturing and we are taking to the market. Why are we taking to the market? Because there are today also, most of these retail chains in terms of real estate are looking to expand rapidly, and they're looking for commercial real estate infrastructure. Now, we provide the technology that allows people to even sit at home, rapidly understand what's the consumer demographics like, where are they traveling, what's their behavior like, what's the purchase pattern, and plan infrastructure accordingly. And that's where I think significantly Khoj has been able to provide that value in terms that how do I not need to physically go there, but at the same time sit at home and understand in terms of data, what's the human behavior like, what's the demographics like, what's the change in their behavior. And mapping that, we come back and help the organizations understand what strategy to take. Now, please.
Got brilliant, Rajit. So this is, I'm sure, of invaluable help on the strategy formulation stage of all real estate players, and just by using technology. So this is a new way, as compared to last 20, 30 years, the market research was done by calling 100 or 200 people and getting a bit of their ideas and extrapolating it to the universe. So what we are doing now is use technology, use mobile migration, use location-based, and understand the trends ourselves and be able to predict patterns for the future. So super stuff, Rajit. The second area I wanted to pick your brain was on, is this whole digitalization of the sales process real? And this is obviously not a part of Data Sutram, but you are in the middle of things. So we saw many of the sites becoming virtual site visits becoming virtual site visits in the last 6 to 9 months, as people sort of went through the 3D assets, VR, AR. The number of actual physical site visits reduced, and high quality site visits are happening. But do you see this trend sort of carrying on even after COVID goes away, or A, and B, will the whole sales process ever become digital, like e-commerce is or fashion is?
So I think I'll just again draw an analogy and try to answer this. We had physical stores, we went to e-commerce, and then we came back to omni-channel. So I think it's the same thing. Today we have a very physical process, which is slightly going towards digital in terms of AR, VR, in terms of limitations. And now it's for and I agree. There has been a surge in the AR, VR sector in terms of experience, in terms of visits, both from a aspect of exploring area, in terms of taking a decision making, in terms of understanding. But I think what is a limitation is there are some gaps in terms of where the experience comes. I'll try to come in and say that what we have to understand is a physical process to become a complete digital process is not something that we should aim at, because I think that's a long stretch. Where we should target is what are the areas of physical process which can be replaced, which are, I would say, irrelevant or not required. But at the same time, there is that sense, there is that, there's a word, I mean, I one of our clients also I remember using is that we need to, breathe the air to understand the field. And, sense, I think, how can you replicate that, right? And what is the guarantee that the experience in terms of AR that you're getting is 100% replication of what the reality? There are often minute details that you might miss out in an AR experience. And why is this happening? Because again, AR, VR as a technology is just that has come to the market. The market has to drive the product, right? Today, the technology has come to the market, but the market has to drive the product. So I feel there is a certain gap. And if I have to answer your question, no, I don't think the process can ever be completely automatic. It has to be a blend of human and as well as technology. Nothing can be absolute. And where I see this coming in, this actually blending is for the people on ground to actually be able to leverage. Today, we all say data is the new oil. But the truth is that, how much in terms of data can we leverage? How much value is a real life? You have been a senior executive at so many organizations. You could answer yourself that, data can only help till a point. Till then, there is a lot of noise. So I think there are limitations which your human intuition and human mind brings in, which I feel can never be replaced. But at the same time, the process can be eased out, the process can be made better. And that's where technology has to come in. And that's where VR and AR is coming in. And I think the test of the market has to be that post the pandemic, will people still stick to it, or will people move out? And I think that is the challenge. And that's the challenge for these companies to really give that experience.
Brilliant, Rajit. So I agree completely. It's a hybrid model, which is going to sort of stand a test of time. It is going to be a digital and manual, physical sort of combination. And I really love the point that the changes that we did in COVID times, will they last post-COVID, is the real test of time, whether we have actually embraced the technology or not. So we'll see that. My personal view on the sales process moving digital is that it's a step in the right direction, and we may not end up selling homes end to end. I agree with you completely online, but we may end up in eliminating sort of poor choices online. So in earlier days, one used to go and visit 10 projects and then choose one from that. So now out of the 10, 4 or 5 can be eliminated after the online, after the virtual site visit. So possibly there will be a need to visit only 5 sites physically, and you will close one. It increases the efficiency of the sales guys as well. It's a 20% conversion, 1 from 5 instead of 1 plus 10, 1 out of 10. It saves time for the family as well, who see all the 10 sites together sitting on one screen or 3-4 screens across the family. Rajit? Yeah.
So I'll just take that last point, and I think that's brilliantly you brought it out. I'll give you an example also in terms of both domestic and commercial cases. What will happen is the opportunity and the window of opportunity will increase. People will not be restricted to those 10 houses anymore. People will be having the opportunity to see thousands and then come down to 100. I mean, we work in site selection with retailers on understanding where to open sites, and they explore a lot of real estate companies. We are in tie-ups. So there we see, earlier on 10, 15 visits, one site. The process to open, decide a location was around 30-40 days. Today, people can take to finalize 2 locations in a day by looking at X. So they don't need to travel that much. So the cost and the effort goes down a lot. That's the beautiful part.
Rajat, thanks a lot for those points. Just changing gears and moving along with Sarit into the world of build supply, e-procurement, etc. Sarit, there are a couple of points which came out, and I just wanted to talk about those, and you can obviously add to that to widen the discussion. One was, of course, a question, rather mundane question on the success and applicability of build supply, what you saw during COVID times. Sorry, can you hear us, Sarit? Hey, sorry. Can you hear me?
We lost you there for the 5 minutes.
Okay.
Better now, a lot better now.
Okay. Right. Sarit, so I was saying that I will cover 2 points that I picked up from your discussion. One was a slightly mundane point about the success and performance of build supply or the e-procurement / ERP sector itself during COVID times. Like, did you see a surge in that? Did you see an increase? It's a pretty smallish point. The second point, which I wanted to pick your brain, was on big data analytics that you spoke about, with those 3,000 unique items, 13 million combinations, 40,000 materials being used. Is build supply trying to use that to develop some sort of big data products which can be sort of used globally? So 2 points, and then please feel free to add something more. Over to you.
Sure. So I'll start off with the procurement piece first, right? I think just like a lot of the other enterprises out there, COVID did kind of push us to think differently about our business. And I think the need was being driven by the market because the landscape had significantly changed. I think real estate took a while to pick up as compared to, let's say, infrastructure perhaps. Infrastructure was very, very quick to pick up even post-COVID. In fact, we were out and running after the first lockdown itself. So I think what has changed primarily for us in the way we look at procurement and digital procurement is a lot of your developer ecosystem is actually moving more and more towards e-procurement, more and more towards e-tendering. I think we've had 5 to 6 very, very large 100 crore plus tenders being awarded completely digitally using the build supply solution during these COVID times with some very, very large names. And when it comes to material procurement itself, I think the whole experience of price discovery, the whole experience of negotiations, the whole, sort of dependency on a physical check for reliability of quality. I think that's something that we've managed to eliminate to a large degree during the COVID times. So instead of asking for quotations from 5 or 6 different vendors, a procurement manager is raising one inquiry on one platform and getting 6 to 7 different options. Instead of being able to sort of go and have a physical look at the batching plant and understand what the batch report looks like, what the cube test looks like, today that is fully automated and available on his app the moment the batch is poured. So there is absolutely zero chance of manipulation from a quality standpoint. Another thing that has really evolved for us during the COVID time is that we've also taken up more responsibility in order to kind of help out the ecosystem and become not just a material supplier and a software solution provider, but also take up the responsibility of, let's say, handing over a unit. So for instance, all the capabilities that are needed to be able to execute that are already available in our digital ecosystem. We already work with more than 5,000 contractors by the virtue of our ERP system who tender a lot of the various different tenders on our platform. We already work with a lot of suppliers on the material piece. So we've been able to combine those two capabilities and then provide solutions to the developers wherein find that you have, let's say, 15 different line items pending before you hand over a unit to your customer. We can take over all of that and then give you the end-to-end solution. So the service-oriented aspects of the construction and the procurement and the real estate space, combined with our capabilities around procurement and topped up with our digital execution capabilities, have actually in a lot of ways made us, a digital contractor of sorts for these guys. Outside of that, coming to your second point on the standardization. So when we started off, when we started off in 2016, the aspiration was always to be a building material procurement, digital procurement agency. And we very quickly realized the first thing was, what do we sell? So when we asked ourselves that question, that what is it that we are going to sell, the materials required in a construction project, the list is endless. So then we asked the reverse question, that how do you get to that list of or a bill of materials on a construction project? And the answer to that question was that you have to have a bill of quantities or a line item description and a rate analysis behind that line item description, defining every single component that goes into execution of that line item description. We started with steel, and in steel itself, the item description gave us like 200 different permutations and combinations of how that item can be executed. So that's where the entire journey started from. And how is it being used today by our customers is that when they're evaluating tenders, they're basically tendering out the same line item across all projects. So there is no inefficiency or ambiguity in terms of the scope of the item. So within that, they can drive a lot of analytics in terms of if a item was priced differently from one project to the other, why was that the case? Were the overheads higher? Was a different material component used? Was a different service component used? Did my sourcing strategy change for that line item from one project to the other? Did I award it as a free issue material? Did I award it as a base rate material? So yes, a lot of analytics are being driven based on this standardized database that Bill Supply created. Today, I think we will at some point in time get to the understanding wherein a lot of this is available to our customers and they can see how the trends are across the country and be better informed in terms of envisaging and budgeting projects upfront. But at this point in time as well, within their portfolio, they have access to great data that they did not have previously. That is standardized and it's already high quality.
Excellent. Sorry. So I think both the areas, I think there's a lot of potential still left to work on, looks like, from what you're saying, and to keep on using big data analytics to keep on improving the inputs to the construction sector. Thanks, Sarit. Thanks for that. And thanks for both points. Moving to Vikram, and sorry, the last 3-4 minutes left. Vikram, a large question which would be looming in most of the minds of audience would be the applicability of all the modern construction tech that you guys are doing globally. And I don't know if the audience knows, but the company that Vikram represents, Mace, has helped construct the London Eye, Jeddah Towers, etc., all the iconic. Vikram, the broad directional question is, how much is India ready to sort of embrace these technologies? And we still see construction workers on scaffoldings in India versus pretty smart metallic sort of structures in the UK and the US. So how far is India behind that, and how ready is it to embrace the technologies that Mace represents and project manages?
Okay, so I would say COVID has helped us in some sense. What it has brought is the need of being virtual and being digitized. The techniques that I've shown are techniques which represent a level of planning which cannot be achieved manually. It could not be achieved what we were doing earlier. Now, are we ready for it, or are we going to be ready for it? I would say yes. In last few months, I've seen a drastic change happening. The drastic change is both in terms of the executing agencies being now looking at adopting technology, experimenting with technology. Okay, simple things like your snags that happen at site. How do you rectify it? So what we used to do is manually make a list and go over the site and then check it. Have they been rectified? Now, all that is on your app. It's on your mobile. And that's something that we are using currently. It's not something into the future. What we also are seeing is this whole looking at how do we reduce cost to improve our profitability for the builders. Also, at the same time, with the advent of RERA and the policy change which is happening, it's also the end users are looking at more certainty. It's just not purchasing. That's the starting point of where we are. It's also delivering the project at the end. And that's where we've been lapsing. So what this would bring in is more certainty on that front. And I would say it's going to take a few years in India, but we are starting now. And I hope post-COVID, this adoption kind of increases and does not decrease.
Oh, Vikram, great, and very happy to hear the optimistic sort of way forward on Indian construction as well. And looks like you are saying yes, we will reach there at some point of time. Thanks for that, Vikram, and thanks for the lovely presentations, each one of you. Just wanted to sort of summarize in 30 to 45 seconds the whole journey that we did in the last 60 minutes, in which the four panelists, the three panelists and myself, actually spoke about different areas of the value chain. And thanks to the organizers for getting the four panelists like this together. So starting from Sarit on the bill supply, on the whole e-procurement, the digitization and using technology to sort of work on that piece. Moving to Mace, which is actually involved in construction and project management, the next part of the value chain, which I had mentioned, to Rajat and Data Sutram, which are adding a lot of data and insights into the market research strategy of building the product. And finally, the company I represent, Anurag and Prospect, which actually take off from there and are digitizing the sales and marketing process. So between the four of us, we sort of straddled different parts of the value chain of real estate, if you may. And the work that was being done by all four companies gives great light and optimism that real estate sector in India is going to sort of go the digital and technology way. So with that, I'll hand it over back to Paromita, and with great thanks from all of us.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mishra. It was a wonderful session that we went through, and it was lovely to hear how we have embraced digitalization and how the eminent panelists here shared their success stories, which we all embrace. Thank you, gentlemen. Thanks to each one of you. Having said this, we will start our next session, which is the rise of warehousing, industrial and logistics sectors in India. And we will have Mr. Shobit Agarwal, MD and CEO of Anurag Capital, to take us through this session. Welcome, Mr. Agarwal. Shobit Agarwal has an experience of over 20 years in the real estate investment. He is responsible for driving growth in investment banking with a focus on structuring joint ventures, raising equity and debt advisory on disposals and acquisitions in core markets. He's an expert in this field, and we are so glad to have Mr. Agarwal with us to take us to this session. I would also like to introduce our other panelists here today, who are all eminent personalities in their own sphere. We have Anshul Singalji, MD of Welspun, with over 15 years of experience, leadership in the structural and real estate sector, with a track record of establishing new businesses from the scratch to the large corporates. He has been holding CEO and director level positions in eminent companies like Blackstone, Warburg, Pincus, and Brookfield. He is he's prior to founding Welspun, One Logistics Park. Anshul was the CEO of Embassy Industrial Park. Welcome, Anshul, to this wonderful panel. We also have with us Mr. Alok Bhunia, who is the CEO of Excentis First Space. Mr. Bhunia, most welcome, and we would like to hear the wonderful experience which we are waiting to hear from you. And to introduce Mr. Harry Lagarde. He is a very dear friend of us. He has been working very closely with also the Indian Chamber of Commerce. Mr. Lagarde, such a pleasure to see you. And he is the managing director of Intello Solutions. He has joined us from Singapore. With over 30 years in business management, he has successfully headed supply chain functions, manufacturing, sales, development, business development, general management portfolios, and he had headed several verticals like third-party logistics, plastics, robotics, engineering, sporting goods, and a whole lot of other verticals. Mr. Lagarde has worked in various continents all over the world, with stints in India, Russia, Europe, South Asia, Australia, and USA. At present, he is based in Singapore. Mr. Lagarde, welcome to the show. And with this, I would like to hand over the proceedings to our moderator, dear Mr. Shobit Agarwal, to take us through. Mr. Agarwal, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Paramita. Thank you all my panelists for being on this. I understand you've taken out time for this, so thank you very much. I'd also at the beginning like to thank ICC and CREDAI for organizing. I think this is a very hot topic. I'm assuming that my predecessors spoke more about general real estate and how it is in some sense fatigued at this point. If anything, through this COVID, if there's one sector that's fast forwarded, it is industrial and logistics. We've ourselves done a lot of work. We think we are very bullish on the sector. I think India, like many other countries, is experiencing this change. On one of the conferences I was there before this, they said world is only doing two things, either building beds or building sheds, right? So I think India has done enough building of beds. I think now the focus is on sheds. And second, we've done some work with Binswanger recently. And one of the things that he said in the conference, and I want to just recollect and recall here, he's saying what's happened to warehousing, industrial logistics is we have fast forward what we were expecting in 5 years has happened in 1 year, right? So he's saying this is the only real sector that's benefited from this global crisis or pandemic that we are facing. With that, let me get to our panelists and ask them questions. Let me start with you, Alok. You run this beautiful outfit. What is the change? And I will try and bring out what's happened pre and post. So, what's the change in demand between industrial and logistics? Right. So let's just try and focus what's happening on industrial, light and heavy manufacturing versus just logistics, right? What's going on, Alok? Can we have your expert comment, please?
Yeah, thanks, Ovit, and thanks for inviting me to be on this panel. So, industrial and warehousing, as Ovit rightly mentioned, has suddenly become the hot topic of the day, and which is quite interesting and heartening for me, which has been in this sector, who has been in this sector for over now 12 years. But at the same time, sometimes, and I just want to be, maybe I'm a bit too cautious on that. Sometimes it seems to me that, like a lot of things in India, is it becoming a fad? That, yeah, I mean, it's good to be talking about and okay, nice things, and rather than taking things too seriously. So just a word of caution.
So you're saying that you may go into overdrive. I think Anshul wants to say something before we go forward. Anshul, do you agree with Alok?
Alok is a good friend, and of course, I respect his views, and he's been in the sector for a very long time. And I don't completely agree, but I don't completely disagree either. I think
it's good.
I don't think it's
good to have an opposite view, Anshul. So please feel free to have a controversy because that brings out the best of both worlds. Yeah. So it's good to have two opinions.
No, I mean, like, I don't disagree with Alok completely, because I think he's got a point. I think there comes a point where too many people, it's the Superman mentality that I think Alok is trying to refer to in my mind, is where anybody feels that it's a very easy business to do, that land खरीदना है और boxes बनाने हैं, warehouses बनाने हैं और वो Amazon आके ले जाएगा, and it doesn't work like that, right? So I think that is where Alok is probably coming from, part of it, where it sounds like a fad, where it is a business that requires a full-fledged team. It requires a focus. It requires a specialization. It requires leadership. It requires a deep understanding of the customer, because people tend to forget that ultimately we are all going to only make revenues if we get rentals, and we are only going to get rentals if we service the customer properly. So, for example, a large e-commerce or a 3PL, I mean, Harry is on there, so he would know, they have certain requirements of traffic management, throughput, aspect ratios, flooring, lighting quality. And there's a lot that goes into designing and building a park. But the Superman mentality when you suddenly see people coming in and saying, "Oh, yeah, so this is very easy. It's just a PB, and Kirby will come and do it, and this guy will give me the land, and JLL or Anarock will come and give me the lease, and it'll get done." That is where it's a fad. So I agree with him. But from a demand perspective, where I feel is the sector is very solid. There's scientific numbers and calculations and demand and supply data that we've studied in detail, our in-house research, and I'm sure yours has too, Shobit, which shows that in the next 10 years, this sector is going to continue to grow at probably a slightly higher CARG than it has been doing in the last 3-4 years. Obviously, 2020 has been slow, but not as much for warehousing. In fact, we've got tailwinds due to buying behavior changes. But I believe in the next year-on-year growth for the next 10 years is solid. It's a very well-grounded sector. It's so that part of it is not a fad, and that's my view.
Thank you, Anshul. Alok, over to you. I know I switched very quickly. So, Alok, you were saying the changing demand bit profile between industrial and logistics.
Yeah. So on the industrial front, as I think all of us have been looking at, Government of India has been trying to shift the whole economy from the over dependence on service sector to manufacturing, and there have been a lot of initiatives over the past 5 or 7 years to do that, and which had been driving the demand for the manufacturing or the industrial side of this business for quite some time. But over the last year and a half, 2 years, the conflict with China has changed that scenario from the global supply chain being overly dependent on China to probably China plus one policy. And in that respect, while there are other countries in Southeast Asia where people are looking at it, but India looks to be benefiting from that. And over the last probably 6 months to a year, there are a lot more manufacturing companies who are started to look at India more seriously to have that China plus one policy being implemented. And as happens with that, India being a complicated country, it's always difficult to implement everything on your own. So therefore, for somebody to come, buy land, get permissions, do the building, and then start manufacturing operations is probably a 4-5 years, 10 years. That's where a development of industrial parks, where somebody can come in and start their operation within a 12-18 months period, is a huge opportunity, and where I see a lot of manufacturers from US, Europe, and elsewhere in Asia is more interested in. And as that increases, obviously that will continue to drive on the warehousing side of the demand, not for the consumption, but for the industrial sector. So I would expect in next few years, industrial, which continue to be probably less than 10% of the overall industrial plus logistics as a demand, to become at least a significant number, if not at least 20-25% of the overall demand. And that way it is going to be a significantly change driver. And that's where, Anshul, I think one of the things which Anshul was mentioning is the fad where everybody is thinking that I can do a warehouse, whereas industrial is a sector probably which will drive more discipline into the sector, where only a very serious player with technical know-how capability will be able to build.
Absolutely. I kind of agree with what you're saying, that you're alluding to the fact that it's China plus one. But importantly, we've been talking to the government, and I think what government is messaging, and not just Indian government, I think what governments across the world are saying, build in country for the country, right? Given what's happened in some of the other nations, whether it is on pharmaceutical side or automobile side, suddenly the manufacturing is getting the center stage, even from the government, both in terms of consumption and in terms of employment. With that, I like to bring in Harry. You've been doing multi-country work. You're looking at Asia Pacific. Do you agree with what Alok is saying? Are you seeing a shift on China plus one? Are you seeing that happening? I would love to get your views on this.
Yes, so good afternoon. And I guess I heard both Anshul's view and Alok's view, and coming from an industry, from a side of the industry where we are the prime users of this real estate. I think we see a lot of movement that is being taking place now within the geography. Sitting here in Singapore, we see a lot more happening in Vietnam, for instance. Vietnam for us has become one of the most prime locations where a lot of Chinese-based factories are already moving. There was a policy decision also from the Japanese government where they announced a subsidy to their own brands to try and relocate from China to Vietnam. So that has taken place. We see a lot more taking place also in Korea. For some reason, Korea has started ramping up, South Korea to be more precise. South Korea started ramping up for industrial logistics sector. There is a lot of shift taking place of supply chains towards South Korea. They find it to be a little bit more stable. Malaysia and Thailand are also taking shape, but from an Indian perspective, we still find that the manufacturers who are wanting to shift there, and I allude in particularly to the consumer electronics goods as well as to the mobile sector, both of which I have been associated with in the past. I find a number of challenges, and the challenges are in particularly the fact that we don't have any component manufacturing in India. For instance, we were in discussions with one of the largest consumer brands in refrigeration, and one of the biggest challenges that they have is that India does not have the capability to manufacture high quality compressors. It was as simple as that. And so for them to shift the location from China to India was then a decision of no-go after a lot of visits to India, and they finally decided to move to Vietnam. So I guess from an Indian perspective, I would like to say that it largely depends upon our industrialists who need to start looking at the key component industry where they should be looking at rather than looking at the finished goods. I think that's the missing piece for India's future. Yeah.
That's a very interesting point. You're saying that there is demand, but it's not getting fulfilled because we are not producing the components, whereas we are focusing on the end product. Anshul, would you agree with this? And also, I want you to sort of allude or talk about the changing profile between e-commerce within warehousing and other sectors, or is it the same occupier profile pre and post? So has something changed within the warehousing demand? And I have some statistics. I think the largest three occupiers are Amazon, Flipkart, and DHL, right? So how much is just this versus the rest, or is it just the three people driving up the sort of fad, as Alok just now said, that if you have one of these three, and you also mentioned Amazon, right? Is it just e-commerce, or is there something else? Is there more depth to this market?
Yeah, it's a tough one. But I mean, I think what Harry said made a lot of sense. Obviously, Harry comes from a very significant experience, and his views are always very, very welcome. I do agree with Harry in terms of what he had to say. In India, the problem is with the fad mentality is that everybody wants to build the most simplest, cheapest warehouse, and even customers are not sometimes very supportive, and they would like to negotiate the last paisa down to the developer. At the same time, they want compliance and this and that. So for India to super specialize, both the developer and the customer have to mature, and even the customers need to be able to understand that if the developer is investing all the capital upfront, they need to pay rents, and they need to cross compensate for that cost of capital. I think that maturity has come a long way in the last 5 to 6 years. Certainly since Alok's been doing the business, I'm sure he's seen a drastic change. but certainly since I've been doing the business over the last 6 years, I've seen numbers grow by 60, 70% in terms of rental, but so has the capital cost of the buildings grown, right? So it's not like the returns have gone up significantly. Now, answering your second question, where is it e-commerce versus 3PL? So here's my clear take on this. So 2020 is e-commerce, right? And it's very clearly e-commerce because, and obviously so. Now imagine if you're a 3PL company and you've already got multiple warehouses operating, and suddenly everything is shifted online, right? There is just no offline retail sales happening. I mean, it just came to a screeching halt, right? Now, when that happens, you are already struggling to kind of, meet the demand, or and you are trying to shift your demand towards companies who want to buy your products, which are potential e-commerce companies. Whereas what you said at the starting of your opening remarks is what was to happen in 5 years happened in 1 year in COVID, right? So what does that mean? That means that today my first port of call as a consumer to buy something is my phone, my laptop, or my tablet. It is not getting into an auto rickshaw or a bus or a car and going physically to a mall. I mean, that's second, right? The first thing you would do is Google it, right? When you Google it, what will pop on? Amazon will pop on, Flipkart will pop on, right? Uske baad sab log aayenge, right? So this becomes like a virtual mall where you can literally go look at it, whether you want to buy it or not. You may then visit the mall and say, you know what, I want to see it, but I'm going to still buy it online because it's like 100 rupees cheaper, right? So this buying behavior shift is happening very fast. It takes 21 days to break a habit, and lockdown happened for 4 months, right? So that habit, I mean, 70-year-old, 75-year-old, my dad, who never went online, right, suddenly is now has the Amazon Prime account, right? So it's pretty great because now he doesn't bother us to buy small things with him. He does it himself. So that habit changing behavior has happened vastly. Then a country like India, which is 1.4 odd billion people, with a lot of the per capita crossing the $2,000 mark, where people can now afford more than basics. That consumer shift happened. The second thing happened is category shifts, right? In lockdown, you obviously are going to delay luxury spends. You're not going to, economy is not doing well, but you still need basics. You need grocery. You need, your basic supplies, your FMCG supplies, like your toothbrushes, your, basic wares at home. So you still need the basics. You need masks. You need sanitizers, face shields. So this new market came up. And what that did was the volume of category shifted from A to B to C to D, where people are suddenly not buying what they were used to buying, but they're buying new things. But overall, the online e-commerce engine has taken high speed. So this kind of, put and e-commerce companies have amazing data analytics, right? I mean, they know what you want before you know that you want it, right? So they've obviously gone ahead and planned their space requirements ahead of time, and they've noticed that, okay, if we are to kind of maintain this habit behavior, we need to deliver faster. We need to supply same day, next day. We need to supply in 3 hours or 4 hours, and for that they need warehouses. Without that, warehousing and e-commerce is like brother sister or husband wife, right? They can't function without each other, because e-commerce guys don't have a physical store. Their store is warehouse and shop window.
That's right.
So that's the change why you're suddenly seeing more e-commerce take over. And of course, 3PLs are, I just signed a large 900,000 3PL lease. So I would not say 3PLs have gone away at all. I think they need some time to reassess. They need time to digest the change, replan their network. So I feel it's a deferment of decisions, not a cancellation of decisions. So in 2021, and I've maintained this view from the beginning of lockdown, in 2021 mid, you will start seeing a lot of 3PLs come back into the market. In 2021 end, you will see a very short supply of warehouses in the market. So if you're sitting on land by that time, great time to own land and great time to supply. So that's my view.
Thank you, Anshul. Moving on from what the occupiers are thinking, I would like to sort of ask Harry. You mentioned this, Anshul, in your opening remarks just now, saying we've improved quality and that it is a little bit of science and it's not just art to build these warehouses. So you've been working in different countries. You just now said Vietnam, South Korea, Australia. How would you rate our product in this country? Are we up to speed? Can we say that we have global products as far as physical is concerned? I've got Alok and Anshul who are both developers. So your comments on that will be really nice. Saying, do you think we are apple for apple or we're still A minus, B plus?
No, it's a good question, and I think in the last 5 years, especially, India has seen a development towards high quality infrastructure. I agree with that statement that the sector which was earlier, before about say 2011 on and earlier than that, there was not a good mentality to build very high quality of infrastructure. I was with a company called Toll in India, and they had purchased real estate from Sembcorp, which is a Singaporean company. And Sembcorp, in their vision, had probably wanted to build some of the best infrastructure during the early 2000s. And it was too far ahead of the time. The cost of the capital, the cost of the building and the infrastructure was too prohibitive for us to do business out of it, right? So we had to actually subsidize a lot of our warehouse rentals and try and get business into that infrastructure. However, now what we see is that the industry itself, the user industry, which is either the 3PL or the manufacturer, or in some cases, of course, the likes of Flipkart and Amazon, they have started demanding high level of infrastructure because ultimately the productivity is all tied to the infrastructure, right? Warehousing is one area where we always relied on cheap labor. That was the mentality in India. But I think the cost of labor, as well as the shortage and the quality of labor, has started driving most of our warehouses towards a lot of automation. And that itself demands that you have to have a quality infrastructure, right? And there is now a certain standards. There is a LEED rating that is required. People are asking for solar roofing. Sustainability is a key requirement from some of our global customers. So I see, the companies like ESR, Logos, and a lot more of these players coming in and doing a lot of good work, including Anshul's park that I have seen. I think those are high quality infrastructure, and that is the new norm, right?
Thank you very much.
I should also add that it comes at a cost, and this is the big catch-22. Is what is the ultimate user wanting to pay for that site? So you cannot rule out that at least 70% of our user base still will continue to have the low-cost warehouses where infrastructure quality is not of a high requirement in their scale, and these are the smaller businesses who will continue to want the lower quality and the go down type of infrastructure. But that's the game.
Yeah, so we have two economies within one that requires the high quality infra and one that may not be able to afford it and therefore will continue to suffice with not so good grade. I completely agree. I think you've touched upon this subject and I wanted to sort of bring it up now, probably a little bit before I thought it is. In offices, two things I do want to compare offices in India versus warehousing. Last year we did 36 million square feet of warehouse. We did roughly 40 million square feet of offices. If you adjust it for built up to super or built up to carpet area, actually in my view, already warehouse demand is higher than offices, right? What's happened in offices, because the customer has been driving quality, we today in India, we are quite proud to say we have the largest stock of green buildings. LEED Platinum, LEED Gold, everything, right? Because our stock is relatively new. It's the last 10, 12 years, and we started when these ratings were already there. Are you seeing similar sort of, and I'm going to sort of bring in Harry and then Alok and Anshul on this, saying, are you seeing these green sustainable practices come into warehouses? Because again, we are building our warehouses now, right? So these are, in my view, these are now global requirements of ESG. We are building green. How green are our warehouses? Harry, first maybe you've seen more of them, and then I'll tell the two developers on this to talk about it, saying how green are they going to go?
I guess a good question, because as I said again, everything that requires to be greening is looked at from a different viewpoint by the user, right? So for the first level, they are happy if there is a little bit of greenery around it. So they really don't care about what we are doing. I have been just dealing with a large retail brand. I can't name them, but they are one of our customers, and they have a massive requirement on how sustainable is the warehousing infrastructure that we will be proposing for them. And I can assure you that there are specifications which come from a global standards. After having put those across to the building industry and having had the quotations back, I think 70% of those requirements were taken away by the local Indian entity of that company, because of the fact that they were just adding cost, right? So, but the basic things which are, making sure that we have LED lights, that's basic now. Water recycling, that's basic requirement, and it's in place. Skylights to improve the lighting inside, that's a must-have now. So that's happening. Minimum level of airflows, so good airflows, so that we don't have to use air conditioning, especially in the cosmetic and the garment industry. We need to have the conditions within the warehouse a little bit more temperature controlled, and so we try to minimize air conditioning by designing different methods. That's happening. And of course, some companies have asked us for solar roofing, but the cost of the solar roofing and the fact that that raises the cost of the steel and the infrastructure on the top is the one that is still prohibited, right? But I think some good progress has been made. Let's put it this way: good progress.
Thank you. Alok, what's your view? How green are you going? You're on mute, Alok.
Yeah, sorry. I will just take probably 30 seconds back and just wanted to add something on that and taking on what Harry was saying. So if you look at it globally, the warehouses that are being built and what we are building in India, and if we want to build what is built in globally, there's no rocket science involved in that. It's very much possible. Anybody can build it in India. I mean, anybody with a little bit of experience.
I was probably thinking you'll go one step ahead, saying we'll beat the global standards.
I'm coming to that. We have clients who are our clients in Singapore and Australia and all. So the same client, when having discussions with them in Singapore, yes, I want to be all these things what I have in Singapore and in Australia and all of those things, because I am global 3PL, I'm this, I'm that. But after that, when you start negotiating rent, okay, the local developer is giving me at 14 rupees. So I want 14 rupees, but I want everything. Now, I think that's where this thing stops. Because today, we as developers, I don't think we are at the position where we are going to be making the sacrifice to make this industry in terms of that huge global standards. So it is a total value chain, whether it's the customer, the user, the government, other stakeholders. So the question therefore is, and the same question applies when you are talking about green also. When today, if you look at it, I mean, Anshul has been talking about Amazon, and we are all talking about Amazon. If you look at Amazon rent, their specification has gone up in last 3 years, their rent has come down. Cost of construction has gone up. So this is the position of the industry. And so the question will come is that how is the industry still sustaining? The reason for that is today in India, most of the construction which is happening is greenfield and built to suit. So a lot of those users go to a local developer who doesn't understand the specification well and will promise anything just to win the contract. And ask with a lot of those 3PL operators, a lot of those users, the ordeal they have to go through to get the delivery or the problems they face at a later date. So I think we are at a nascent stage of an industry which is going through a turmoil. And these things will get cleared up over the next 2 to 3 years. And then only when the serious players are only standing, then only all of those drive towards green, LED certificate, all of those things will start happening. Right now, it's a question of how this industry is going to evolve where people are able to sustain their current business.
So Alok, I'm fully with you saying this is a very fragmented industry. The good guys want to do really good work, but unfortunately the laggards are so many that you're not able to get the rents or the commensurate rent that you should do or you should get for the work that you put in.
Yeah,
right?
so that's,
I fully agree that right now the house is divided because we are in a transitionary phase, right?
Absolutely.
That we are moving from go downs to super grade A. I think we skipped 1 or 2 steps that should have been done, which of course, like I said in my opening remarks, was that we fast tracked in COVID. We've jumped a few steps. So this problem is there, and where I'm sitting, I definitely see that this is the only sector within the broader real estate which has more capital than required. So for every transaction deal, we find that there is outbidding that is happening, and therefore the pricing, the base pricing is going insane, right? It's a little bit ahead of the sustainability that you alluded to, saying the rents are not good enough. But Anshul, I'm going to add one more question to this. Saying how green are you going, and how much technological changes are you seeing? Are you seeing your clients asking for some sort of technology to be adopted, or is it still very simple, high quality grade A sheds? Is there any technology that you're seeing that is coming in worldwide and we are also bringing it to India?
Yeah, I mean, very good questions. And again, I think Harry and by the way, what Alok said was absolutely spot on. But so just to answer the questions quickly, what is the first one is the sustainability angle. So what is sustainability really? If you just break it down, sustainability is basically you want to sustain the planet's resources. So the lesser the amount of resources you need to build is part one. The lesser the amount of resources you need to operate, part two. And part three is whatever resources you do use, are they recyclable, right? These are the three, layman's principles of sustainability. Now, warehousing business as a whole, besides using land, is very sustainable just by the nature of the bare product, right? So if you see, we use 60% of the material that goes into a grade A warehousing park is steel, right? And we procure almost all of the steel that we buy locally, right? So from companies like JSW, companies like SR, companies like Tata, companies, there are very high quality steel mills. India is one of the best quality steel producers in the world. And all these steel mills are zero effluent discharge plants. So when they produce steel, it's highly sustainable. So if you just do that math, you're using a very majority of your material going into a park is highly sustainable. To build these materials, these pre-engineered buildings are being built in a factory, which is fully emission controlled, right? And then being shipped and erected on site. So that's sustainable. You don't require, too much labor compared to what you used to build warehouses because of that fact. We are definitely going a minimum of gold standard on all our parks, full stop, right? So that's like not negotiable. So our parks, no matter what, whether the customers want it or not, there is solar roofs on it. So that's just a group level call that we've taken. But of course, these are the three angles. So the product by itself compared to other products is very easy to build sustainably, right? And then, of course, if you follow the IGBC principles or the lead principles during construction, it's a bit of a cost, but it's more of a mindset and an attitude towards building something and a choice, right? So if developers follow that as a choice, then I don't think it's as Alok rightly said, it's not rocket science at all. It's very easy to do, but only the serious players can do it. Sorry, I forgot your second question.
A role of automation or technology adoption within warehousing
Got
as
it.
a developer. As a developer, I'm not talking as a production line. That could be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, the biggest challenge that developers need to solve is so how this business work, right? 3PLs kind of, they bid for contracts. So like a company like DHL, etc., would bid for a contract of a Zara or a Unilever or a ITC, etc., etc. And they will bid for their business. What does a 3PL do? A 3PL manages transportation in, transportation out, storage, right? Storage is one part, which is warehousing effectively. Now, 3PLs will win the business last minute and then they'll want the warehouse yesterday, right? That's how this business kind of works. Now, the minute you do that, the delivery becomes a challenge because you can't deliver a building overnight, right? It takes a minimum of 6 months to deliver it. So the technology needs to evolve in that, I think, construction and delivering fast track buildings to our customers. And that's where we are putting a lot of our focus on how we can implement certain tools and technology to deliver buildings faster. Whereas what we are seeing inside the building done by customers is the automations are moving up slowly, but they're moving up, right? Because people now are realizing that, using 700 people to operate a shift is not efficient anymore. So you need more conveyors, you need more pickers, you need more automated machinery, you need better quality floors. So as developers, what you can do is, all you can do rather, is you can make your real estate more future proof. So you can make sure that your buildings have all the possible provisions that one can think of today to be able to upgrade themselves, right? So 5 years down the line, if the technology changes, that building should be able to accommodate that technological change. So your hardware needs to be able to take all the new software that comes in, right? And that's what fundamentally a developer can do, which is something that we are doing, and I think most of us are doing, the grade A guys. The new thing that we are introducing recently is Internet of Things. So, in terms of park management and smart infra. So, if your building is just consuming suddenly 3 times or 2 times or 1.5 times more energy than it should, there's a reason, there's a problem, there's a leakage, there's an oversupply somewhere. Those kind of things are coming into control. We're using radar cameras on our parks to make sure there's better truck management movement. We are using an entry pass system for trucks where the minute a truck enters your park, it knows, the park knows, and the receiver of that, the warehouse in the park knows that my truck has come. It knows which bay it needs to go and park itself in. It knows, and it's made for Indian drivers, so they're pretty, simple to use and easy to use. So those are the kind of throughput benefits that we can offer our customers, which we're already doing. But I think over time, just like any other real estate sector, prop tech will be an important play in warehousing. China is I think still miles ahead of the game from where we are. I think, as Alok said, this industry is now going through a transformation for the good. In another 3 years, you'll see a lot of these small guys, not being able to sustain. You'll see the serious boys standing, and that's when pressure on rentals will always be there. So throughput, technology, and solutions will be able to get you the differentiating premium. If you're able to reduce customers' operating costs of the warehouse, you can charge part of the differential as rent, right? So I think the industry will move in that direction.
Thank you, Anshul. Just a question to Harry. So when do you think multi-level warehouses or multi-story warehouses will come to India, just the way they are in Hong Kong, Japan, Singapore? In-city warehousing, right? For what you call as fulfillment centers, maybe.
Well, there is a difference, yeah. So one is, of course, when you compare what we have here in the Asian side, in Singapore and all, the multi-level warehouses with ramp up drive-up ramps. I think that kind of infrastructure, the first one, I think is already being planned somewhere near Delhi. I was in discussion with Logos, and I think they are building one. It's a two or three story ramp up building that they are constructing. So I think you will see that. I still remember when I was with Gati, I saw Gati had put up multi-level warehouses in Bangalore and in Hyderabad and in Chennai, and those were too far ahead of the time at that time because of the fact that people were not having the ramp up facilities to drive up. They were using the industrial lifts, so that did not go that well. But I think it's the cost of land versus the space, and that change will happen. It has to happen for good because it allows you to operate more efficiently and cut down your costs and keep your infrastructure quite controlled. That change has to happen. India's real estate costs are not cheap anymore. Absolutely not.
So you're saying it's just completely proportional to land cost, and utilization and densification of warehouses have to happen to be able to afford that land. Alok, are you guys doing anything in this? Alok, are you guys thinking about it?
So multi-level, just to directly answer your question before that, I think I agree with Harry. India will start seeing multi-level warehousing very soon. But having said that, I don't think we are going to see the multi-levels, the likes of Singapore, Hong Kong, or Japan anytime soon, those 9-story, 10-story. What we will start seeing probably is 2 stories to start with, and then slowly, gradually moving into 3 stories, which are direct ramp. And if I look at the China experience, if I look at China about 10, 11 years back, very few 2-level warehouses in China. You go to China today, significant amount of 2-story warehouses in China. It's just because availability of land for warehouses in China has come down substantially.
Yeah.
So in India, closer to city lands, I think we'll start multi-story warehouses very soon. We have been working on that in certain locations, but the cost of construction still is very high vis-a-vis the cost of land. So the economics still kind of not working in favor. But I'm sure, I think that's the area where technological application probably will become important. How can you come out with a construction solution where your cost of construction makes sense compared to the land cost? And I think it is going to soon catch up in India. And as far as we are concerned, probably we will start the first one for tier 1 city and closer to the city at expensive land very soon.
Thank you. So you're saying two things have to happen: either the rents or the land cost has to go down, or the rents have to go up to be able to afford this multi-level car park.
Or the construction cost through your technology or something will come down.
Okay, I've got 2 questions, and I'm going to open it to the full house for further questions. One, I want to talk about, which is very relevant, and we've been talking about it, or we've been hearing, is just to meet the COVID requirement. What about pharmaceutical cold chains? Right? How quickly can we put them up? Is this a reality? I spoke to the government. They're saying we're deficient. Even if the vaccine has to come, we cannot have it delivered without a cold chain, cold medical supply chain. How real is this? How prepared are we? Are we going to be able to put it up in the next 12 months? And second, I'm going to ask this from starting with Harry, is what does the government need to do more of? If you can just answer one point, saying what can the government do to support this industry as the closing remark, and then we will open this to the guests who are on the call.
Sure.
Harry, you're on mute, Harry.
On your question on the vaccine supply chain, which I am working on at the moment, I agree with you that India is ill-prepared, right? In terms of having the infrastructure to cater to what can be a very high level of infrastructure required for the storage and distribution of vaccine. Having said that, India, as you know, Indian businesses are also quite innovative, and they have been looking at what they call the temporary relocatable type of warehouses that can be set up very easily, especially in the remote areas. So I think that is getting addressed. But I think that is a challenge in the entire cold chain industry that we are facing in India, and that needs to be addressed, whether it is for the vaccine or for the food or other requirements. In terms of what I think the Indian government needs to do more of, is to look at the whole sector as a possible next wave, which is going to be driving India's economy. Because I think this is far greater than what you have seen in the IT sector, which has been a service industry. This is related to manufacturing and supply chain. And I think India is very much geared towards becoming a global player in this and to come up to par with China. But it requires government to step up and really take this in creating infrastructure, giving good SOPs to the industry, and ensuring that it allows the development of this sector as an industry rather than just what it is today.
Thank you. Anshul, over to you. Anshul.
I don't have anything to add from what Harry said. I mean, he's covered everything very well.
One thing that the government needs to do, rather than a very general sort of thing. I know that Harry's put up a general thing, but I don't think our government can do everything together. If you set up a small thing first and break the problem down and say, I need this first, I think the government may be able to come up with some solution. I think they're very open to ideas, but I think the way we work is we don't solve everything together. We solve it one
Very
at a
simple. Very simple. Allow cold chain facilities on agricultural land. Allow the approval process to be automatic for certain types of companies if they are following the norms. The plant sanctioning authorities. So it's statutory. I mean, they can talk all they like, but the minute you're gonna go start, if I need to develop 20 cold chain facilities across India, I can do it right now. I have the team, I have the manpower, I have the financial capability. I can do it right now. But and I'm sure can Alok, so can the other guys, right? But there is no clear policy directive that if you want to build a series of cold chain facilities across India, these are the 1, 2, 3 ease of business that we will give you. These are the land parcels that we can sit down with all the players. Why only one? Sit down with all the 10 players, all the 8 players in a room and decide, okay, these are the land parcels. This is where we feel that cold chain is there. We give this parcel to X player, this parcel to Y player, or all of you guys take parts of it, start developing. I mean, this is not a profit making or business thing, right? This is to help the community at large. And if we need to step up as developers, I don't think any of us would shy from doing that. It's just a matter of having clarity, right? Rather than talking. So that clarity is not there today. And I think India is ill prepared. I think cold chain facilities generally in India are very, very poor. Forget about vaccines, food, groceries, just basic beverages. We are not able to maintain a certain temperature from source to source, right? So vaccines are far more sensitive to damage if they're not, if they don't go through a particular temperature. So I think that a lot of work needs to be done there, and I think it's a bit tricky.
Absolutely. We were talking to some colleagues in China. They're saying for cold chain, you get approvals on email within 15 minutes of sending the application. That's how quickly they respond back. You have to just put up an application on the government website, and 15 minutes later they tell you approved or disapproved. Right? That's how quick China is.
That's the problem.
That's the problem.
Yeah, it's statutory.
Alok, anything that you'd like to add both on cold chain and your one request from the government?
Yeah, so I will start with the second one first. One request from the government is going to be, I see all the state governments coming out with this logistics policy with this SOP, that incentive. I think if they can do only one thing, which is one-stop solution as far as approval is concerned, because this is not a sector which is high FSI intensive. So just one-stop solution, give all approvals within 15 days. I think the sector is going to flourish much farther than what it is doing today. And that is and one-stop solution doesn't mean what they have. A lot of the state government has done in terms of window, where they are nothing but a marketing wing who will take you to various departments. I'm saying, okay, here is one guy, you put the application, and within, as you were saying, within 15 days it will come to your mailbox with all approvals. That is the only thing required. On the cold chain, I think there are two things. One, if you're talking about cold chain only for this vaccine piece, I don't think it makes sense for anybody to be doing permanent solution only for a 12-month period. It will never make sense business-wise. It has to be done in a separate manner where you are doing it for the government, handing over for the government on a PPP basis. That's the only way it can work, because no private investor is going to be putting in money for a 12-month usage. But on a long-term basis, I think the cold chain industry in India suffers because of counterparty risk, not because of demand. Because your counterparties in cold chain are always the small traders, small businesses, even in pharmaceutical. Because the supply chain on pharmaceutical is more dominated by the warehouse and distributors rather than the companies themselves or the 3P.
Yeah. So you're saying you have to fix the whole supply chain, not just the warehouse.
Absolutely. Otherwise, it is never going to make business sense.
Thank you, Alok. Paromita, you want to? If there are questions pouring in, can we take one or two questions?
Yeah.
I'm not privy to the screen.
Okay. Just let me have a look.
If there are any questions anybody wants to ask, we have the benefit of having a very eminent panel. I don't want to let them go without our participants asking them some questions.
Yeah. Well, I can see a question from Mr. Suresh Tripathi to all panelists. It's actually an observation where it says you can use precast for construction as used in USA. This will bring down the cost. Insulated precast walls are answers to insulated warehouses. This is one thing which has come up. Mr. Agarwal, any views on this? And to a panelist as well. He has aimed it to all.
Anybody wants to answer that? Harry, you want to take it? Saying what is the use and relevance of precast in doing cold supply chains?
I think it's already in place. I think Alok and Anshul should know it much better, but they are the guys who are doing it day in and day out. But a lot of precasting is already being done in India. I don't see that as a...
Yeah, I'll quickly kind of, so the answer is the concrete belongs in a certain place and steel belongs in a certain place, right? So precast concrete basically in warehousing can be used for boundary wall, and all warehouses have a wall up to 3 meters high, from ground to 3 meters high. That's already being done. A lot of it is in precast. The rest of the solution is far more efficient and cost effective in steel, your pre-engineered building, etc. There's nothing really else in terms of the flooring, in terms of the roads, in terms of the common infrastructure that precast currently solves for. But however, precast could solve for probably multi-storied warehousing, partition walls. It could solve for a lot of solutions. India today are not building the types of warehouses which precast will kind of add a significant value, but wherever it can be used to speed things up, if the project so demands, any of us would use it, and we are using it. So that's my quick response to that.
Yeah, I think precast walls, I agree with Anshul. Precast walls are being used wherever they are these things. So I don't see that's a challenge. As far as the cold storage is concerned, again, it's not the precast walls or anything similar to that which is adding to the cost of a cold storage. It is more to do with the equipments which you have to put in, and the other equipments are DG and all, because you have a power problem and all. So, I mean, if you go beyond the size of a chiller in India, you still have to import it. And there is an import duty and all of those things. So that adds to the cost. It's not the civil cost and all.
So while Paromita is waiting for more questions, I have one last question, which really I think will be very relevant to our listeners. Since they are from the East, both Alok and Anshul, when are you going to put up your first park in the East, and what are the specific challenges that you're facing? I'm sure you want to get there. Is there
Absolutely.
unique problem in Calcutta is on the land aggregation. But anyways, I'll let you guys speak about it. Anshul, over to you.
Alok, you want to go first or?
Yeah, I mean, man, I mean, as Sovit says, I am from that part of the
Yeah,
country.
exactly. That's why.
So
Yeah.
I definitely would want to put up, and I mean, just to probably be these things, I wanted to put up a warehouse and a logistics parks there for last 10 years of my life, but has not been successful. I hope I'll be successful very soon. As Sovit said, the biggest challenge is the land aggregation and the land title.
Yes.
So we have the listeners here. So anybody has any proposals, I'm happy to
I'm
get them
pointing this
offline.
directly to ICC. Maybe they will help you in getting some exceptions from the government to allow you to develop a park, which is very important for them because it reduces the cost for everybody, right? The cheaper the land is, becomes more affordable for the occupiers, and therefore supply chain becomes very important. Anshul, anything else that you would like to add?
Yeah, so Calcutta is my favorite market for warehousing. I honestly think it's like a place where I would like to buy like 200 acres of land and build it. And we are actively been looking for the last 10 months now for land in that market. We've evaluated various proposals, but the problem is sometimes our good friends from Calcutta are all Marwadis like myself, and they're too smart for their own good. So they want the maximum price of land also, and then they want to build it also, they want to be joint venture partners also. So it's not solving anything, and they're sitting on the land and losing money. So I think it's aspirational expectations of the landowner. People who own land uh, think that they've got everything, and again they have that, some of them have that Superman mentality where I can, why do I need, Wellspun One or Ascendas or Indospace or ESR? I'll do it myself. No, it's just a warehouse ही तो बनाना है, वो आके ले जाएगा और इतना इतना भाड़ा दे देगा. So Excel sheet mate looks very simple, but the problem is that they should do either or. And then there are certain local players who then go and ruin the mind and say that, okay, we'll give you some crazy price on the land, which just doesn't make any return sense. And then they get stuck, right? Like somewhere along the line, that whole thing gets stuck. They take some money and then they get stuck. So that is one problem. Second is obviously the Calcutta does have, East India does have this land ceiling act, which does not allow you to buy lands above a certain acreage. It has a certain lack of clarity in I don't want to get into too many technicals, but if those things can be streamlined, then it's a great market, right? I mean, it's a gateway to the East. You've got a massive consumption market. You've got very intelligent people who are very tech savvy. They want to be able to get same day, next day deliveries from the likes of e-commerce companies. It is a massive offline market. Forget online. East India has a very big offline market even now, right? So that's traditional retail warehousing, which is still a very, very big play. So the demand is not the problem there, and the supply is not coming up because we're not able to bring it up. So we would love to do more in East India. As I said, it's my number one favorite market for warehousing. So yeah, if any of you guys have lands, we are JV, JD, buyout, development management. We are okay with all 4 formats, right? So please bring it forward.
Thank you, Anshul. On that positive note, and Alok, I think already I can see some chat group people are asking for your numbers. I am assuming they have land for you. Thank you very much, ICC, Harry, Alok, Anshul, and Kredai. I think I've left Kredai with some thoughts to say, please help in land aggregation. Otherwise, you're going to miss out on this whole boom on warehousing and logistics. Thank you very much for your time, especially Harry, who's joining us from Singapore. Thank you,
I
again.
enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all, including the participants for listening to this.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Over to you, Paromita.
Thank you, Shobit, for taking us to this wonderful session. It was so engrossing. And thanks to all the gentlemen who participated. We now come to our next session, which would be a very exciting one on startups. And to take us through this session, I would introduce Mr. Parthiv Neotia, the Managing Director at Ambuja Neotia Hospitality, and he is also the chairman of the ICC Startup Committee. Welcome, Parthiv. And Ambuja Nyotia Hospitality, comprising of bouquet of star category hotels, premium clubs, casual smart dining restaurants, quick service restaurants. Apart from hospitality, Parthiv also spearheads an incubation program initiated to support the startup business concepts, which deals in the domains of healthcare, renewable energy, hospitality, and education sectors. He is very involved with the Indian Chamber of Commerce, and we would love to hear him speak, to present, and also speak on the startup ecosystems. Joining us on this panel is also Ms. Sagarika Debnath, who has done excellent work and in the startup section. She is heads the business community at Gen Robotics. Welcome, Sagarika, to the show. And Natha, we have Shashi Kiran, a very dynamic young person. And thank you, Shashi ji, for joining us. He has done wonderful work and he's a co-founder of Falcon Brick Technologies. And he a leading Bangalore-based construction tech company. A graduate from the Indian School of Business, Hyderabad, Shashi has over 15 years of experience cross-industry and including 8 years in management consulting with specific focus on construction, infrastructure, real estate. And he has been associated with large organizations and Fortune 500 companies. So with this, I will please hand over to Parthiv ji. And I would, just to add here, after this, we will be having Mr. Siddharth Pansari who will also be giving his remarks. He is the co-chair of the ICC Expert Committee on Real Estate and Infrastructure. So Parthiv ji, the floor is all yours, please.
Wonderful. Thank you, Paramita, for introducing me. Welcome, Sagarika and Shashi. It's nice to connect with you guys. I know Shashi from before, but nice to meet you, Sagarika. First of all, welcome everyone. It's nice to talk about the startup ecosystem as always. As you know, we are fortunately even connected today because of a startup and because of technology. And Zoom being one of the platforms that we're using today essentially says a lot about how technology is shaping the way we are now conducting businesses, meetings, and a lot of other things, and how it has actually influenced even the real estate sector. I would like to thank Mr. Pradeep Sureka, who has invited me to participate in this session along with the ICC leadership. So thank you very much. I would start by introducing a little bit about what we are doing at ICC Next. We are trying to build the first startup chamber in India. We want to create a platform which recognizes and works with startups on open innovation, policy advocacy, and also startup fundraising. This is primarily being done to create a national body which represents the interests of startups to the government, to private investors, and to the business community all around. So this is a very large vision that we have set upon as of last year, and we hope that we are able to achieve it. As soon as we essentially started this program, we were hit with the lockdown. So we ended up doing 10 webinars, and we garnered great participation from a lot of people, especially the investor and the startup community. We even did down policy roundtables where we drafted the initial policy for the next budget, and hopefully some recommendations from that policy might be accepted by the central government in their upcoming budget. So as I think might be discussed in the session earlier, the COVID has impacted real estate quite considerably. Real estate, farming, retail, residential, commercial, warehousing have been affected in very different ways. Some sectors have done better than the others, and some have been affected far more. But what's important to realize is that the role that technology and startups are going to play in the future in real estate also. Real estate has always been a traditional company, a traditional sector where people have done it in the old way, and the adoption of technology has been rather slow compared to many other sectors. The importance of startups and technology is very profound in real estate, and it can start from even operations by providing you PropTech cost-effective solutions for project management, It can even go into facility management in terms of providing property management solutions with the enablement of technology. And it can even further help you in sales and marketing in terms of providing you the final customer that ultimately buys or rents your property. So many of you all have seen the number of companies that have come over the last 2 to 3 years, especially I think between the period of 2016 and 2018, $250 million were funded in India in prop tech and real estate related companies, whether it's brokerage companies, whether it's online listing platforms, whether it's prop tech companies, whether it's facility management companies. So this sector has become really big, and I think it is also time for a lot of traditional real estate companies to evolve their operations, to evolve their management, to evolve their sales and marketing, and by adopting a lot more technology that is available, which might not only be cost effective for you, but ultimately might even help you improve your sales and other operating parameters. So I think with these few words, Paramita, I'll hand it over back to you so that we can discuss and see some of these exciting companies that are going to present about the technologies and the use of it in the real estate sector.
Yeah, sure. Sagarika, may I request you to put in your thoughts, to share your presentation if you have, and to share your experiences. Thank you, Sagarika.
Yes. Okay. So I would first of all like to thank ICC for providing such a great opportunity for the startups to come and voice on what we are behind and what we will be doing in future. Yes. And to present, I would like to share my screen. Okay. I hope it's visible there.
Yeah, it's visible. You can make it full screen if you want.
Yes, yes. Okay, so let me just quickly take you through the short history of Gen Robotics, innovation beyond technology. So Gen Robotics is a robotic company based in Thiruvananthapuram, and started by 2017. So our basic aim behind the formation of our company was to focus on the most pressing social issues that we could solve in the long run. So while talking about the social issues, the major social issues that we are still facing in this new era is the manual scavenging. So as you know, manual scavenging is a process wherein a human or the person involving in the cleaning with the bare hand. So around 4.5 million people are engaged in manual scavenging for just their livelihood. And around 22,327 men dies in India doing various kind of hazardous sanitation work. And through a report, we could find out that 98% of men and women are diagnosed with the fatal diseases. So next, I will take you through the current scenario, the current pandemic scenario. As you know, during this pandemic scenario, our sanitation workers were in the front line and were in charge on taking charge of all the domestic hazardous waste. So they are in direct connect with the virus that was found out by the researchers throughout the globe, wherein they could see the traces of coronavirus in the sewage waters. So I would like to focus that our technology could actually help in concising the widespread of COVID in the current scenario. Also, I would like to focus on the global impact. It is not only the issue that we are facing in India, but it is a global issue. The global impact is there. Why? Because in the sanitation sector, there is no systematic way or there is no systematic mechanism to solve this manual scavenging issue that we are facing from the ages. So to come up with the solution, our team Gen Robotic came with a robotic scavenger named Bandicoot, and it was associated with Amrit Atal mission of regeneration, and in connection with Make in India, wherein our robot is equipped with the human comparable robotic arm. Human comparable robotic arm will enable the function of picking, grabbing, and shoveling. It has a bucket system. The component or the formation of the product is with the light-weighted carbon fiber body. It has the 4 mission vision, which will inspect the inside of the manhole. Since you know the manhole is the darker side, it's the inner side of the earth. So it will inspect what exactly the issue is, and it has also the poisonous gas detectors, which will alert the worker who will be operating the robot. Also, if you compare the human intelligence, if you compare the human working way, the intelligence, the vision, and the flexibility, we have taken all these 4 key components into our robotic technology by way of artificial intelligence, image processing, and robotic arms and machine learning. And the new version, our new version of Bandicoot Robot 2.0 was launched in the presence of Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi and our Union Secretary Mr. Antonio Guterres on the International Sanitation Convention program on 2nd of October 2018. And our product meets the 9 out of 17 SDG goals of United Nations. And taking you through the current scenario or the current scenario of our product is that we have successfully accomplished and deployed our robots to the 11 states of India. Our focus of Mission RoboHole is to eradicate manual scavenging from India. So we have like with our effort and with all the cooperation from the government, we have came across many parts of India, and we hope to cover all over India and set an example for the world, wherein we will be more mechanized in our sanitation sector. Then these are the few photos and pictures of what we exactly do along with the deployment of our robot. We educate them, we provide them free medical camping, we provide them the awareness. Even in this 2020, people are not that much aware of the negative side of what they are going through. So we are providing them a rehabilitation program wherein we are making and transforming them into robot operator, wherein they could have a dignified life, and their coming generation could also be proud of what their ancestors are doing. And looking into the transforming human life using technology, we innovated that manhole into robo-hole, and we tried to focus and totally eradicate the caste-based system that was being followed from the Harappa, like from the ancient Harappa era, and the health issues. We ensure that the safety and the life and health of a particular person who are in the sanitation sector, they should be provided a healthy and a safe life, even though they are in the sanitation sector. And environmental issues will also focused, wherein the diseases, the health related hazards could be notified with the poisonous gas detectors, wherein they will be getting in advance the alert from the robotic mechanism. And overall, the impact was to provide them a better job opportunity and to provide them a dignified life where they will get a social acceptance. Also, I would like to focus on the international market, wherein we got the attention of international market, and Gen Robotic has signed the MOU with the Dubai municipality. and also for the mass production and to reach each and every corner of the world. We have tie-up with Tata Bravo for the bulk production and bulk supply of our robot. And also, I would like to focus on the recognition side, that is the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs and the Smart City Mission has recognized our Bandicoot robot as a best example for zero intervention of human to clean manholes. And we have been recognized as the Young Changemaker Award from our Honorable Vice President of India. And these are the other few recognitions that we have been, Team Gen Robotics has achieved. And at last, I would like to share the real life transformation of a manual scavenger into RoboHole, which transformed the total life experience of that manual scavenger of this particular person. So thank you all. Paramita?
Yeah, thank you, Sagarika. Thank you. May I now request, thank you. It was wonderful, Sagarika, to see the excellent work that you all have done. Thank you. What I would now call upon Mr. Shashi Kiran, an enterprising young dynamic entrepreneur who has done wonderful work in the field of as a startup. Mr. Kiran, would you like to share your thoughts on this, please?
Thanks a lot, Paramita. Hope I am audible. Can you hear me well?
Yes, can hear you well.
Sure. Thanks so much. Thanks, Paramita. And first of all, before we start, thanks a lot, ICC, for providing this opportunity. I think I've had the chance to actually see some of these sessions yesterday and today, and some of the excellent presentations made by, done and thoughts shared across the entire industry. Uh, so I'm very happy to present our company, Falcon Brick Technologies. We're basically a company based in Bangalore, but we have a presence all over the country. And Calcutta, especially because this is specific to Calcutta, has been a very special place for us. We provide mobile app-based solutions, digital solutions to builders and developers and construction companies. The idea is to help automate the end-to-end construction life cycle of all kinds of projects. And the overall objective through this use of technology is to help builders and developers accelerate their projects so that they can provide much earlier handover, complete the projects on time, and provide much earlier handover to their end customers with much superior quality. So what I'll do is, before I get into this, I'll just quickly share my screen, and do let me know when this comes up. Can you see my screen, please?
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
Okay, perfect. So it's actually a construction management solution on a mobile app. The objective is to help streamline and accelerate projects. So when we started this company, about myself and my colleagues Gautam, Mayur, and Aditya Shankar, we come with a lot of experience in construction and real estate as well as in technology. And when we started this company about 3.5, 4 years back, there were two things we had in mind. One is, if you look at the industry, construction and real estate is the second largest contributor to India's GDP. There is so much of focus from the government, etc., and the private sector, but still this industry suffers from huge issues, right? Delays, cost overruns, lack of quality, etc. The second thing, and also the penetration of technology in this, a traditional, considered to be an unorganized industry, the penetration of technology has been fairly low. The second thing is, this industry is very unique. It's not like other industries where a lot of the action happens in head office. Here, most of the action is at construction sites. So on the construction site, whether it's your site execution staff as a builder, whether it's a project engineer, a civil, mechanical, plumbing engineer, a project manager, or a contractor, or whoever it is, even if he doesn't have a pen and paper, he or she will surely have a basic smartphone with him today. Even contractor supervisors have smartphones today. So we said if we need to bring in change using technology, it has to be mobile based. And hence, from day one, we are a mobile first company, a a mobile app based construction management solution, but with full connectivity to laptop and desktop. So this is of direct relevance to the construction and real estate industry in India today. So that's the problem we're trying to solve, the fact that builders are unable to monitor their projects for timely completion and handover to end customers. And with the advent of COVID, this problem has only become more complicated because construction now has to operate with less staff, social distancing, and especially less supervision from senior management. Management cannot keep visiting sites and take progress updates the way they used to do it before. We as a company believe that all of these problems can be solved if technology is used in smart ways where it's most needed, which is at the construction sites. Now, before I get into the details of what our product does or how it has helped, I just like to tell you about where all we have implemented the solution. So we are a young company, but I must say with pride as well as humility that we have got the opportunity in the last 3.5, 4 years to work with some of the best names in this industry in India. So we are based in Bangalore, but we've got customers across the country: Bangalore, Mumbai, Chennai, Hyderabad, Delhi, Pune. Kolkata, as I said, is a special place for us. We've started, we've been in Kolkata for the last like 2.5, 3 years, and also some tier 2, tier 3 cities. And all of these, some of the industry leaders like Embassy Group, Brigade Group, Shriram Properties, Aparna, JLL, TLF, K. Raheja in Mumbai, etc., L&T, they are our customers. And in Calcutta, we've had customers such as this product has been successfully implemented at Primark Group, PS Group, Sureka Properties, Salarpuria Satwa, Siddha Group, Merlin, DTC, Orbit, and also having discussions with Ambuja Neotia. So it's actually provided a lot of value to a lot of builders. So having said that, let's now look at what exactly this product does. Falcon Brick product is essentially a combination of two simple components. It's so simple that any of you people on this call who are builders or your friends can immediately start implementing this from tomorrow onwards. There are two components. One is a mobile app, which is to be used by your site execution staff, your own project managers, civil engineers, mechanical, plumbing, your contractor supervisors. They use this app for their day-to-day coordination on site. And the second component is a connected set of live dashboards and data analytics, which actually helps senior management monitor their projects real time from start to end and ensure that we are always on time and with good quality. This product addresses every stage of the construction life cycle of a project, right from your excavation, below ground substructures, superstructures, finishing, handover, and involves all the stakeholders involved, whether it's your site execution team, your planning team, quality control, facilities, CRM, senior management, and even contractors. So how does this really work? So let's say we take the example of a residential project. Suppose you have a residential project of 4 towers. Each tower has got 20 floors, and each floor has got a combination of 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom apartments. Now that entire configuration is loaded onto the mobile app and given to your person at site. So we do this. And it's given to your person so that your person at site can actually, on the app, he can drill down, whether it's a tower engineer or whoever, he can drill down on his own app from a project to a tower to a floor right down to an individual apartment. Because we've configured and given it to him at an apartment activity level exactly in the way he does his work at site. And the minute he clicks on each individual apartment, the name on his mobile app, he can actually see all the construction activities that an apartment goes through, right from the structure stage, whether it's your shuttering, reinforcement, concrete pours, etc., through the finishing stage, your block work, plastering, plumbing, waterproofing, everything, right till handover, snagging, desnagging, till you hand over the key. So, for example, your tower engineer on the ground can say that today at 4:30 p.m., I have completed waterproofing in flat number A301, which is Tower A, 3rd floor, apartment number 1. All of this he can indicate with just one single tick mark on the app. It's that user friendly. So your people on the ground can allocate daily tasks. They can do inspections. They can raise snags, raise NCRs, take live site progress photos from the site, and they can do all of this even in near zero internet mode conditions, which is a practical reality of construction sites. And the minute they do this, An automatic notification, all this information is relayed to senior management like you, so that you can monitor the project progress using real-time dashboards and analytics, and then send database decisions back to the site. So in this way, the system closes the loop, brings different teams in any site onto the same platform, and then connects all those different sites and head office. So essentially, it automates your entire construction process. Now, having talked about this, let's give you a sneak peek as to how this actually works, right? Now, if you can see my screen, I'll just take a clear, real use case, the way it's implemented at our customers today. Now, let's say we have the simple combination of a maker and checker. So let's say today you as a builder want to implement this at an ongoing project, right? Now, we have a customer success team, and my colleague Gautam Mayur, who's on the call, actually heads the team. The customer success team comes and does a simple workshop with you and takes all the data needed to customize or configure this app for the particular project. Once that is done, there's the simple concept of a maker checker. That's it. So the maker of your site could be the tower engineer who's executing construction. The checker could either be the quality guy on your site or the project head who checks if the construction done by the maker is as per the correct quality. And then you have the CEO like you who's actually wanting to monitor the project. So first, let's show you how the app can easily be used at site between the maker and the checker. So today, if you see the left side screen on your app that I'm showing you is the mobile app screen of the maker. He's a tower engineer. He is in charge of block 4. And on his mobile app, he can now see all the pending construction activities that he needs to do today. It's a dynamic to-do list. It's an agenda screen. So today, his project is in structure stage. So you've got various floors. Each floor has got different pours and there are slabs being constructed. This is in structure stage. Similarly, we've got for finishing and handover. So this guy has got floor 3, the first pour, and the 4 construction activities: shuttering, reinforcement, pour, and de-shuttering. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to take an example and show you how easy it is to update physical progress happening on the site onto the app and do quality inspections. So your tower engineer takes shuttering. He goes in and he sees that there are 3 sets of columns in your project where he has to do shuttering. Today, he is going to complete shuttering work in 2 sets of columns. Once he's done, he just highlights them and submits them for a request for inspection to the checker. It's as simple as that, just a 2-second process. It's submitted. Once he's done that, please look at it. Instantaneously, a notification has gone to the checker, who is a quality engineer or the supervisor or the project head. He sees that there are 2 notifications saying the tower engineer has completed shuttering in these 2 sets of columns. Your clock is now ticking. You need to see if it's been done correctly. Please do the inspection. Now, to help him do the inspection, our app also has a ready-made set of checklists for every single activity. He goes into slab shuttering and sees whether it's been done properly. For that to inspect, he's got this checklist. He goes through the checklist, and for the first set of columns, he sees everything is fine, no problem, so he accepts it. This checklist has got the list of all issues he might find out. Now, the second one, he sees an issue. The cover block is not adequate. So immediately he puts a comment there, not proper, please redo, takes a photo of required and marks it. It's marked in red. Another issue that he sees is the line and level of the slab is not correct. So again, he puts a comment and takes a photo this time and marks exactly where that issue is on his mobile app itself using our live photo taking feature from the camera. Once he has done this, he's raised 2 snags, he's done. He submits it, and that comes back to the maker, who's the engineer, and the maker can go into his mobile app and see, aha, this is exactly where the issue is. So he sees this pop-up that's come in shuttering. 2 sets of columns that he sent for shuttering have come back to him with snags. He needs to fix those snags. He can go in there and see the 2 issues. Adequacy of cover block is not there, and the line and level of slab is a problem. He can go into it and see exactly what the issue was. And once he's rectified the issue then and there, he can just put a comment and say, fixed, please check. And the minute he does that, his name, Naresh, as well as the exact date and time when this happened, 24th of July 2020 at 12:26 p.m. has been captured by the system. This information is all there on the cloud, and you people can access every single work that's happened on your site from start to end at a click of a button, because it's all captured on the app by your own people. You can take post-fix photos. You can do all of this in a very, very easy manner. So I'm just giving you an example of how easy this is. In a similar way, like we have used it for structures, you can use this during finishing as well. During finishing stage, every single activity, whether it's your block work, plastering, plumbing, waterproofing, every single thing will be captured here with its own checklists. And when you reach handover stage, the interesting thing is not only do you have slabs or floors or units, even the individual rooms that you're going to have in each unit, whether it's a child bathroom, a child bedroom, a common toilet, a dining room, they're all available. So your person on the ground can say, today I have finished the tiling work in the common toilet and the dado work in the wet area in this particular flat. And your inspection person can actually say, I have found 5 snags in the wet area and 3 snags in the dry area. All of that is completely automatic. Now, while all of this is happening on the ground using this very easy to use mobile app, this information, as I said, gets relayed real time to a very powerful project monitoring system that we've got for you. Paramita, I'm just doing a check. I hope I'm audible and you can see the screen.
Can see the screen. Yeah, please carry on.
Okay, perfect. Great. Yeah, great. So all the information that's been easily entered into on the app is now there in front of you. So let's say, imagine that you're the CEO of the company, or you're the promoter, you're the head of the project, or the head of the company. This, what you see in front of you, is the real-time project progress and status monitoring dashboard, which tells you what's the status of your project today. When I say today, I mean the 5th of November at 13:05 p.m. At 1:05 p.m., this is what your project is at. This is an example of a project which has got 15 towers. You see all those towers from A to N, and all the construction activities that are configured on the app and you're doing are all listed here. So you've got your utility dado, toilet water supply, bull mark, pressure testing, waterproofing, plumbing. I'm just taking finishing as an example. Everything all the way to tiling, painting, and handover. Final pressure test, second coat paint, everything. Here, this tells you exactly what's the completion status. Each tower has got 200 units. And for example, if you see, utility water supply against tower A shows 184 by 200. What does this mean? It means that real time as of now, this activity has been completed in 184 out of the 200 units in tower A. That's the real time status. Gentlemen, this is no manual input. It's an automatic dashboard. The minute the maker and checker put their inputs on the mobile app that we just show you, it automatically gets populated here. So you as a CEO can sit remotely at your home or in your office and just look at this dashboard and monitor your site without having to dig into any other reports. Similarly, if you want to know different shades of yellow, a gray means no work has happened. Different shades of yellow show work in progress, 25%, 50%, 75%, 100% completion. A blue box shows you what all work has happened in the last 24 hours right there on your site. Other places, nothing has happened in the last 24 hours. Also, you see some of these red marks. The red marks show you wherever there are delays in your project. To complete the project on time, you need to have an idea of where the delay is. So, for example, if you look at this, MS railing activity in Tower C should, according to your plan, have completed on the 6th of July 2020. You can see that. That's a planned completion date. Unfortunately, today we're already on the 5th of November and we have only completed it in 146 units. It's less than 75% completion. So you're majorly delayed and you need to pull up your socks. So this tells you real time where are all the problems and what you need to do. Not only this is at a CEO macro level. The last thing I'll show you is you can actually drill down to relevant things. Suppose you want to just look at Tower A, which is your most important tower, where you're going to sell all your units in Diwali season. Tower A, what's the status? This shows you a dashboard exactly as your project comes up. Yeah, I'll just take one more minute.
No,
exactly as your project comes up.
Sashi, there's one thing. I think your slides are not moving. Is it how it works? That's a slide which is the one which is showing on the screen now.
Okay.
Is it the one which you're referring to?
Not the screen. Can you see my dashboard? The one that's I'm showing the project dashboard. Can you see that?
We'll start with how it works.
Oops. Have you been able to see my screen till now?
No, I think you can please run a bit please. I think there's some problem just come up now.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. So I've been talking for a long time. Have you been able to hear me?
Yeah. Could hear you. But you can please go back a bit, please.
Let me just go off my share screen and come back.
Yes, please.
Oops. Can you see my screen? Can you see the video here? Can you see the screen with the two the screenshots of the app?
Screenshots. Yes, that we can see.
Are you seeing this for the first time, or have you been able to see this till now?
No, I think you can carry on from here. Not a problem.
Okay. So then you'll have to give me some more time, Parmita. I'll have to just go through this
Not a
once
problem.
again.
Please. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. I think. Okay. Perfect. Cool. So can you see the two screens now? Let me just go through this again, right? So I actually just said, okay. So I think Gautam and Rishi, probably you're on the call. Do let me know when, if the slides are not changing. So, we currently have, if you can see these screens, I said there is the combination of a maker and a checker at site, right? So the maker at the site is a particular individual who actually is in charge of construction. He's the town engineer. He's in charge of construction at the site, correct? Now the checker is someone who's his boss, who's the project head or the quality in charge at the site, who checks whether the construction has happened properly. Now, if you can see the maker screen on your app, he actually has got his project is in civil structure stage. He's in charge of block 4, and he's actually got, you can see all the floors, the pores, and the different units right here on the screen. So he's got 4 activities and structures: shuttering, reinforcement, slab pour, and de-shuttering. These are the 4 key construction activities and structures that he's currently doing at his site. These are pending.
Now again going back.
Okay.
Can you do Pansari? This man is paid.
Hello. Can you see my screen, please? Hi, is my screen visible?
Yes, it is visible. Please go ahead.
Okay, perfect. So I was just saying that, so now, you've got this guy who's actually the maker at the site. He can actually today, what does he do? He's going to indicate on the app in a very simple manner that shuttering is completed. He selects 2 sets of columns on the app itself. He marks them as a request for inspection to the guy who's the checker. The checker gets an automatic notification on his screen which tells him that these 2 activities have actually completed. The 2 sets of columns have completed their shuttering, and he can now do an automatic inspection right there on his app. For doing that, he's got a set of checklists that the app itself gives him. So if you focus on the right side screen, the checker has got these 2 sets of columns which he can inspect. He has automatic checklists. He can go through the checklists, see if there is any issue, raise it right there in a 2-second process right there on his app. Now, for example, in this case, he's actually gone there, seen a problem saying the cover block is not adequate, put a photo, and actually marked up exactly where this issue is, right? He's actually done this. So once he's done this, he just marks that this thing is complete and sends it back to the maker, the engineer, who can then see that, okay, this is the particular problem that has come to me. It has been raised by the checker, and I now have to rectify this. And he knows exactly what the photo is. After rectification, he can actually put a post-fix photo, and the system captures the date, time, and every single information. So you as a CEO, if you want to capture all the information that's happening on your site, right from the first lab cast till the last, the key has been handed over, you can do it through the app. Now, based on all of this information, I'm going to say this again, all of this gets relayed onto a dashboard. The dashboard is there for the CEO to monitor the real-time project progress. Paramita, just doing a check. Can you see the screen now, which is the dashboard that you can see, which says Tower A?
Can see the screen.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, if you can see this dashboard, this is a real-time project progress dashboard, which actually shows the CEO or the promoter the exact status of the project as it is today at on the 5th of November at 1:12 p.m. That's the status of the project. How does this work? So I'm just giving you an example. This is a project that we have in Hyderabad with 15 towers. You see all those towers A, B, C, and all till tower M, and all the construction activities that you're doing in your project, right from your, utility bull mark, water supply, MS railing, waterproofing, plumbing, tiling, right till handover, are all there on this particular dashboard. Now, you as a CEO can look at this dashboard and say, what's the percentage completion of my project? Or how, where am I on this project? So each of these has a box. So for example, if you see water supply in Tower A, it shows 184 out of 200. What does this mean? It means this tower has got 200 units and water supply is completed as of today only in 184 units. If you put your mouse there, you can actually see how many have completed, how many is work in progress, how many is yet to start. Everything at a glance. Similarly, if you want to see how much is completed, 25%, 50%, 75%, 100%, all available. A gray means 0%, nothing is started there. A blue box shows you all work that's happened in the last 24 hours. So all of this is available at the click of a button to you. And wherever you see a red mark, it shows that a delay has happened. So for example, I put my mouse here. MS railing activity in Tower C, if you just put your mouse there, it shows that as per the planned completion date was 6th of July 2020. Unfortunately, today we are on the 5th of November and we've still completed only 146 units out of 200. So we are severely delayed and we need to pull up our socks. So all of this information is available for you to monitor and control your projects from start to end on this dashboard, right? Paramita, I hope you can see the screen moving as I'm talking about it.
Yes, can see it now.
Perfect, perfect. Now, having looked at this, right? Now, if I actually want to drill down into various levels, this is at a macro level. I can just click on Tower A and it shows me a complete drill down of a particular tower. So let's say you as a company, you have sold a lot of units in Tower A in Diwali. You want to speed up the progress. Here's how you can do it. You have the entire project and the way the tower comes up from ground floor to the 23rd floor, you can see it coming up on this dashboard as well. So for example, this is a G plus 24 tower. All the floors, you can see them coming up from floor 1, 2, 3, 4, right up. And you can also see when those activities completed in each floor. So as of today, this project has completed till floor 23. That's why you can see a green color. The dates on which everything was completed is automatically populated. And where all you have delays is also shown. Every floor, every activity. You can actually further drill down here, go to a particular unit if required. You can look at this, get an overall view. This is the overall view of your project. About 60% green means complete. If you want to get into a particular contractor's performance, let's say for waterproofing, just use this magnifying glass, drill down into a particular activity, let's say waterproofing or firefighting, and it will immediately tell you in Tower A, out of 200 units, 127 units this activity is completed, 38 it's work in progress, and 35 it's not yet started. And the last thing that I'll show you is, in fact, you can drill down right to an individual unit here. Suppose you have got a unit booked by a customer and he's breathing down your neck and telling you, what's the status of my unit? Please tell me. As of today, you'll have to drill down into, you have to look at multiple reports and dashboards and everything. Now, nothing needed. It's all there on this laptop. Every single unit in the tower, right from ground floor to the 24th floor, is here. And you can actually drill down, let's say, go into unit number A201. The minute you do that, the entire history of that apartment comes up. Which activity completed when, first coat paint, AC copper pipe, everything. What's the current status of the unit? It is undergoing first coat paint. It is currently with Mr. Peraya. So all the information in terms of उस site पे उस unit पे क्या हो रहा है सब कुछ आपको इस dashboard में दिख जाएगा. You can tell Mr. Peraya, please accelerate this unit, and you can also tell that end customer that you're going to get your unit handed over in the next 3 months. Perfect information. So in this way, you can drill down from a CEO macro project level down to a tower, down to a floor, down to an individual unit, and monitor the entire progress of the project. So that's in summary how this product works, and we've been able to deliver a lot of value to our customers. I'm done with the demo. I'm just coming back the last 2 minutes. What are the benefits that this has given you? So it has helped reduce delays at our customers and help them complete projects much faster. It's actually helped companies improve quality and reduce snags and defects by almost 80%. And we've actually got data to prove this. And it's actually helped companies monitor the performance of their individual contractors and ensure that everybody is accountable. Ensure that good contractors are incentivized and bad ones are penalized. That's all I'd like to say. We've got some of our customers have been, very gracious to actually give us testimonials in terms of the benefits they have gained. And with that, I'll actually leave you and open to any questions. I hope you could all hear me, and apologies for the problem in the middle.
Fine. Thank you so much. Parthivji, are you there? Like, any comments from your side? Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Shashiji. It was a wonderful presentation which you gave, and it was very, very informative. There were some snacks, but then you went back and we could actually see the demo so well. Thank you so much. And of course, there are one or two questions, which is, the question here says that, just a minute, please. I'll just go to my chat box. Well, there is, we'll connect later. Some mobile numbers have been left for you, and we'll pass it on. They are very interested in the app. And the question here is, can your app be integrated with back ERP like Tally or SAP? If you may like to answer that.
Sure, I'll answer that question. Thanks for the question. A lot of our existing customers who are actually using this product also have an ERP. You don't really need to integrate this. It works very well as a standalone system. However, we'll need to understand the specific reason you want to integrate. If you want to integrate in order to put some details of progress completion onto your ERP for purposes of billing, etc., you can absolutely do that. Not through direct software to software integration, but through a system of forms. That's completely possible. And good question, just to tell you, we're also integrating contractor billing and bill verification onto this particular system that we have today. I hope that answers your question.
Okay, thank you so much, Shashiji. And
anybody else who wants to use this app, our customer success team is available in Calcutta. We can start talking to you from tomorrow itself.
Sure.
Thanks a lot for the opportunity.
Thank you, Shashi. So we have been going a little, we have been shooting time a bit, but thank you so much. It has been very interesting. We have with us Mr. Siddharth Pansari, who is the co-chair of the ICC Expert Committee on Real Estate and Infrastructure. He's joined us today, but he was very instrumental from the very beginning to make this Build East event a great success. We had series of meetings with him. He had been sparing his valuable time to guide us through. Thank you, Mr. Pansari, for joining us. And we wanted to have his expert remarks at the closing of the session, but to please introduce Mr. Pansari, an alumnus of Harvard Business School. Siddharth has over 20 years of experience, and he has donned various hats, from being a leader, a recruiter, a manager, a change maker, and a custodian of various wings of the very iconic Primac Group. And his passion, and he is a very passionate about startups, about dynamics, ideas, creating new opportunities, employments. I have been working the whole ICC team, and also Kritai Bengali is a very, very active person. He involves and he has very exciting ideas. Thank you, Siddharthi, for joining us. And we would, as usual, have your expert comments. Thank you for joining us. It's over to you, Siddharthi.
Sure. Thank you, Paramita, for the wonderful introduction and kind words. I hope all of you are hale and hearty. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, it's already early afternoon. I would not want to hold you much away from lunch. So it gives me great pleasure to deliver the closing remarks at the end of this very, very engaging 2 days of Build East. Personally, for me, it's been a journey of learning and introspection, what we are doing and how better we can do, how much more we can learn to improvise on our business processes and fundamentals every day. It's been a great journey of learning for me. I've thoroughly enjoyed myself for the last 2 days. This event, friends, has come at a very, very critical juncture. The real estate sector, though was severely hit by COVID, has fought back very, very strongly. I think this conference has provided us with the right platform and the right tools to discuss ideas, exchange ideas on crucial aspects of the industry, and how together we can grow our industry. Affordable housing is a very important sector and the remedy for India's housing deficit. The session was significant to the present real estate sector, as around 600 million people are expected to make India their home by 2021 as per estimates. The India retail real estate, a look at the emergence from COVID, the retail real estate sector, the shopping malls and so on, several activities have come together. This was one of the worst hit sectors initially, but sales over the last 2-3 months are showing that this sector has bounced back drastically. We are eagerly awaiting the multiplexes to open, which will bring further impetus in footfalls into the malls, which will drive sales. A crisis was noticed when the real estate sector was closed down. The malls were closed down for 2-3 months, but I think the worst is over.
and sooner we will see much better days. However, the biggest learning in this whole seminar has been the journey to embrace digital, the success mantra to thrive and flourish under the present scenario. We understand that going forward, digital is not only an option, but rather the need of the day. It is the brand new regular in this world that has undergone sea change due to this pandemic. And it is here that these applications like Falcon, Brick, and other technological providers, which will help us become better in our operations and drive efficiency every day. The rise of warehousing, industrial, and logistics sectors within the real estate sector has shown stupendous growth in the past few years. There has been substantial support from the union and state government in terms of policy reforms and initiatives to boost infrastructure development across the country, thereby streamlining the logistic costs. The introduction of GST and classification of warehousing as infrastructure has also played an important role in the growth of the sector in India. The COVID situation, like most of the industries affected on-site work, is in progress with the available material and labor force, and the whole industry was facing problems. However, the outlook of this particular industry seems to be much more positive than many other sectors of this industry. With this, I take the opportunity to convey my sincere gratitude to our respectful dignitaries for the insightful and enlightening address and engaging panel discussions that took place on this forum. I think that the event, as per expectations, has enriched us and has provided us with key insights revolving around the significant aspects of the industry to represent. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Siddharth. As usual, it's always a pleasure to listen to you. You always come in at the last moment, though you are there behind us, always helping us. I have no words to express my gratitude to you. Thank you again.
So much.
Yeah. So with this, we actually come to the end of the 2-day session which we had, and very exciting sessions. We thank all the delegates who has the attendees who had shared the valuable time, who has been so proactive. Thank you so much. We are grateful to members of the press who had been with us and who I can see some coverages coming in. Thank you so much. And I would like to, it was an effort of CREDAI Bengal, Indian Chamber of Commerce, and our knowledge partners, NROC. The entire NROC team has worked very hard. We saw all of their CEOs being with us to the entire 2 days. Thank you so much. And last but not the least, in these very difficult times, we had our sponsors who had taken us to bring this event together. We are supported by our gold sponsor, SRMB, our associate sponsors, Tile Square, ESCO by Jacqua, Falcon Brick Tech, and our corporate contributors, Legero, Alcad. Thank you very, very much for all your kind support. We will come back again with another edition of Build East very soon, where we will again cover some pertinent topics. And with these words, we would like to end the 2 days proceedings that we had. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much, and have a great day ahead. Thank you.